Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Twine to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mel's 24, Unimento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Dale West Watson, Maria Nealon's Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so Fishbowl was supposedly 350,000 kilometers at the Kármán line, supposedly, where they detonated the devices.
Is it a fact?
That distance is what?
Afternoon,
From
Dad.
sea level, obviously.
Hello.
Hey, Nathan.
Morning.
Hi, Matthew. John.
Good morning.
Hey, Righteous. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, G Plus.
Morning,
Morning,
everybody.
Discord.
All right, now that we all got our good mornings out.
Hi, John boy.
Yeah, so 30 to 248 miles above above sea level was those detonations.
You don't have to make apologetics. If you accidentally say atmosphere, nobody's going to say, Atmo, what now? We understand that the vernacular is part of the brainwashing, and it's probably the most difficult thing to relinquish. So you don't have to do that. I understand you all probably feel like you have to walk on eggshells here, and to a degree you do. But I just thought I'd say it, even though it probably doesn't have as much weight as I would hope. But you don't have to stand on ceremony with your language. If you want to say atmosphere, no one's going to have a go at you. I promise.
Why can't you just say
Hey, Nathan, I got a question about yesterday's video.
Okay.
Why did Tyson attack? Do you think it was an attack of Joe of the bald hair thing, or was that just the example he saw right in front of him? You know, or what do you think? Or you think it was a defensive maneuver?
I stand by what I said yesterday. It's a way of tying the subject matter to something that is passionate in the eye of the person that's having the information disseminated to them. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see Joe's reaction. If he's rolling his eyes and looking bored, then, you know, Tyson needs to get him snapped back into the attention of the discussion for the importance it holds. So, in order to do that, he's everybody likes to talk about themselves. If you're talking about gravity, well, that's not talking about Joe, is it? If you can somehow relate that to talking about Joe, then it's going to be a lot more dear to Joe's heart, isn't it? It's fairly basic stuff, I would have said. But, I mean, if it's got your noggin ticking, then fair enough. I'll, give what I perceive, but, what
No, it's because I just like you said, I really would like to see Joe's expression when he was taken aback from. He says, "Oh, you're still on that, on that thing," and yeah, Joe's expression would have been priceless on there just to see the reaction. But if Joe sensed defense mechanisms going up, we obviously heard it, So yeah, I don't know. It was weird how he got on the defensive.
I look at it differently. I thought it was a low blow. I thought he got
What?
personal because Just the fact that he's challenging gravity or asking questions is a low blow to Tyson.
I see.
Well, yeah, it was.
Go on, John. I was just agreeing. I was saying, oh, right, okay, fair enough.
It was. Well, it was a low blow in a way, but it was also what Nathan was saying. It can be all of those things,
Yeah, I agree.
but it didn't have the effect that one would intend, because Joe put him in a headlock with that "what is it then" question right after all that. You know, he didn't lose point of the discussion. You know, something like that would usually get you in your emotions.
Right, he didn't
And you
bite the
wouldn't
first.
be.
Yeah, he didn't bite the first time when it came to his hair loss, but when it came to the Muscle Beach thing, then he
Oh, yeah,
then
he
he
did.
bit.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, the second one he got really into that because yeah.
But that's what makes Tyson slick. He realized it didn't hit the first time. So let me go where his real love is. Let me go to working out. Took it right away because he was about to say that he's been talking to a few scientists and astrophysicists. Never got to that.
Tyson knows the do-si-do. He's been in this arena a long time, so he's getting all.
I hate to immediately disagree with you.
I'm not even done with the full
Well,
statement.
it's just because you're a salesperson, right? Would you not agree that there are certain people? Now, I've trained very few salespeople. You know, I've been a sales manager, and I have trained a few of them. But there are certain people that it is beyond their ability to have that sixth sense with people, that a way of
Yes.
getting them on
People
your
are straight.
side, getting them. Tyson's got that in spades. Now, that is a natural ability. So while we discuss it and pull it apart in a pseudoscience, psychological way, we're just looking at him and assessing him based on his demeanor when he presents this information. It's ultimately the information we're focused on, but this is still interesting. But in terms of a personality type, he's got that personality that is looking for somebody's, I don't want to say weak spots, but the way of getting them to empathize with your subject. And we just saw that because Tyson can do that naturally. Not everybody can. He can very, very well. And it's something I admire. Now, it's weird to say that I admire that in Tyson. He's our opponent. But that skill he has, I admire.
Fine, all that could be true, but allow me to finish still. He does the do-si-do because he keeps avoiding the what is it, what's it, let's describe it. You keep dancing around it, and Rogan figured it out. Hey, how come you're all worked up about this? Shouldn't this be easy? Kind of a innuendo there, right? So he studied under Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan wouldn't be doing no disco dancing video like Tyson does. So Tyson does have that entertainment, that sixth sense that you're talking about, but he's also an astrophysicist who's got to defend the undefendable. So he does the do-si-do because it's undefendable. And you see him cleverly, as one said already, right when Rogan brings up other astrophysicists and scientists, Tyson knew he didn't want to be compared to them, so he changes the subject. It was just, you just can see it. You watch people dance around an actual question, and that's what Tyson's really good at.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I
Yeah, you just need
jump
to
in?
you just need to quote the other astrophysicist saying that gravity is not a force to debunk him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he didn't want to hear. He didn't want to hear someone saying gravity is not a force, and it'd be someone with the same credentials as him, because he said it was landing a spacecraft in a crater in Mars on the first try is like a hole in one. And this is the second part of it. Rather than answering Joe's question, he goes into Narnia and he starts saying how they figured out gravity mathematically, where they can launch a spaceship from Earth to Mars on the first try, get a hole in one. We know that much about it, and it works. That's what I know. Okay, what is it?
Okay, let's do role play, Nathan. Let's say you're Neil deGrasse Tyson and I'm Joe Rogan and I get the question off. Yeah, but Neil, I've spoken to astrophysicists and scientists. One guy was Brian Cox, and he says that gravity is not a force.
What was your question?
I wanted you to be Neil deGrasse Tyson in that moment. Say the question did get off. Okay, and I come to you and I say, Brian Cox says gravity is not a force. Actually, I have a few quotes saying that gravity is not a force, Neil deGrasse. How do you think he would have answered?
I like your hairstyle.
Agree.
He'd probably agree with him emphatically and then
Totally.
completely contradict himself. Of course it's not a force. You have to understand that it's the bending of a pseudo force-based time dimension. But he wouldn't have said pseudo, but he'd have described it, and he's like, and you know, this gives rise to the effects that we see. Now, no, it's not a force. It's a pseudo force. You can think of it as a force, something like that.
You can describe it as a force, Neil.
Just
That
while we're
doesn't
on the
mean it
subject.
is one.
Sorry.
Oh, you can describe it as a force, Neil. It doesn't mean it is one.
While we're on the subject, somebody got in touch with me. I don't know if they may or may not want me to reveal who, but nevertheless, somebody emailed me and was like, Tyson Wizardry. Hi, Nathan. Neil has pulled this same psychological trick with Joe Rogan before, previously digging at Joe Rogan's height. Joe is a short man. Compare this with your latest podcast review where Neil diverts by bringing up Joe's baldness. Really? Neil is a wizard at Deflection. And then he gives me the link. All the best. And then from the person. So I've actually queued this up so that we can go to it in the live show in the next couple of minutes. Let's just test the volume.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Are you 5'7 3/4"?
It's probably closer to that.
Okay.
Good enough.
All right.
What a piece of crap.
Hang on. So I posted your review video today. After how long is this one going to be, do you think?
This is a shorts video. We probably heard all of it.
No. Okay. So anyway, that's funny. Today's video is how high do you have to be to see the curvature of the Earth? 360 VR viewer, and we're gonna have fun with this one today.
Okay, we'll do the Tyson one
context.
first. Not short, super short.
No, that was good. I like the fact that we can have some other things. I mean, that guy just said it fine in the email. Baldness, now height, as people want me to say.
Kent, I have a question about the video you suggested. Is when they talk about how high you got to be to see the curve of Earth, like, are they talking about marijuana consumption or altitude?
Well, actually, he was talking so much, I think he got stuck in the weeds. So I'll let you figure it out.
What a lovely day!
Welcome, Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man Rising, Refracted Curvature, Matthew Eastman, Neil Costantino, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on!
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello from the other side.
What's the other side? You're fourth dimensional?
Discord gang.
Oh,
The
Discord's
bunch on
the other
Discord.
side, is it? Oh, the peanut gallery. He's calling himself the other side.
Oh.
I love it. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, but you're going to require a flat Earth in order to get the radius to do that calculation.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy cosmology, or astrophysics?
Negative.
Not science.
Okay, so a lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean one, contacted me about this discussion with Joe Rogan yesterday. Now, for whatever reason, the psychology aspect of why Tyson would pick on Joe Rogan and his hair and then move over to Muscle Beach to try and incorporate his gravity discussion with something that Joe would be passionate
Nathan, about that.
Go on.
About that, I was just asking, what percentage? I know and understand what he was doing, trying to relate it to something personal, but how much do you think of it was a defense mechanism, though? I know he just wants to equate it to something personal for you could care about it, but yeah, just how much it was a defense, you think, if you had to put a number on?
You can equate the answer to how much he had to defend the claim he was incorporating into that tactic. So it depends on how you assess, or in this case, how Tyson assessed Joe Rogan's disinterest in what he was peddling. Now, based on Joe being a little bit standoffish in his questioning technique, Tyson obviously got the impression that he was on the back foot. Therefore, that's how defensive he needed to be. Now, you could say, well, based on that, he didn't need to overstep the mark that much. But that's what people have got interested in, rather than the nonsense that we pulled apart for hours about the gravity claims and the non-forces that he was claiming and the force you were overcoming at Pebble Beach or whatever. He was, not Pebble Beach, Muscle Beach. Let me think about cars. Anyway, yeah, that would be the hope that people would focus on that. But no, like Gene here, it's the focus that, well, how much of a defensive? Why would he go to his hair and his physique and his height and his stature, which is what we're going to get covering now. So you can gauge that percentage, and in reality, I have absolutely no idea. I can only speculate. But let's have a listen to this. So this is the video that the person who emailed me contacted me about and said, look, Tyson's done this before with Joe, tugged at those particular strings, and here's the example of it.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Are you 5'7 3/4"?
It's probably closer to that.
Okay.
I'm shrinking.
All right, so maybe you're 5'7 3/4". So are you 5'7 and 1?
What? Yeah. How much detail do you need? Bloody hellfire. Maybe move over to millimeters.
1/16 of an inch taller or shorter than 5'7 3/4"?
I don't know. We'd have to bust out a tape measure.
But wait a minute. The line that identifies a 1/16 of an inch itself has a width.
So we're giving rough measurements.
It can never be exact.
Ugh. That is point.
Lot of
How
rubbish.
tall are you?
5'8".
Yeah, that was it. Okay, yeah, so he's got a concept he's trying to peddle to him in this example, and he's gone straight to his height because he knows he'll get his attention. Same bag, yeah. The guy who emailed me, thank you for your email. Absolutely, yeah. Exactly the same tactic or technique, whatever you want to call it.
I tell you what he's doing there. He's saying, listen, Shorty, I'm 6'2". You're only 5'7". You may think you're 5'7 3/4", but I'm in the authority here, so listen to me, Shorty.
Now, he's saying
How
measurements
tall are
don't
you, Neil?
exist because there's only a proximity. It's never a measurement.
How tall are you, Neil?
5'6".
I knew you would say that.
Hold on, is that 5'6 3/4"?
I don't know. I'm shrinking.
I think you're sneaking a half inch on us.
Sorry,
Hold
John.
on. If my legs weren't bowed, if my mother would have got my braces on, which I should have, my bow legs take at least 1.5 inches curves. So I could be 5'8".
Alrighty then. So this happens in conversation too, Nathan. For example, just had one a few weeks ago. So making a claim about the wonderful things we learn here on the physics geometry show called Flat Earth Debates. And after the claim, the responder says, you know you're very arrogant to me, right? And then I said, well, why don't you ask me for evidence for me to back up my claims? Because I'm not interested. So another tactic is for people who are in this cog dissonance. You know, you got scientists and all these people saying we're on the globe, we got all this, NASA, and here you are staying against everything. You're pretty arrogant. Well, I have evidence that makes me say these things. Why don't you ask for that? I'm not interested. That's a tactic. Because they know they don't know how to defend it. They don't know anything about it, and they're intimidated. So they just say, I'm not interested. Well, why'd you say I was arrogant then? Well, because you're going against my current paradigm.
Alrighty then. So today's video, you've just got a link going by in the chat now, and it's to this videographer, who is Scott Manley, and the video is called "How High Do You Have to Be to See the Curvature of the Earth?" 360/VR. I think you can get a general gist of what the video will be. Obviously, as always, this is new to me. I've not watched this, but Tenth has supplied it, and I'd like you to go and let them know. I assume the comments are turned on this one. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, we responded to your video. Straight off the bat, anybody got any comments on the title? How high do you have to be to see the curvature of the Earth?
I'd say about an ounce or more.
Hold on, see if anybody gives us the correct official answer. Go ahead.
The curvature of the Earth only exists in the maths.
Perfect preamble. That's a good start. Whoever said that, 10 points.
Therefore, depends how it's being presented to you on a board, on a piece of paper.
No, you did enough. Okay, let's get that out of the way straight away. Okay, fine. So what we're seeing at point C in this maths on screen now only exists in these maths. To rephrase, Earth curve only exists in maths. Over to you, John, with your objection to that statement.
That horizon that they're describing would have to exist below the surface level, but the horizon as defined is where the surface level meets the sky.
Okay, perfect. So as per this diagram, this is Al-Biruni's measurement to derive the radius of Earth by taking a tangent point to an Earth curve below surface level, as per John's prior description 10 seconds ago. This measurement here is surface level. This is how Al-Biruni derives h, the height, along a flat baseline. He then goes up and measures with an astrolabe eye line as horizontal and parallel with the ground. Then the differential between this height and this surface gives him the calculation to extrapolate a now bent surface, not the one he measured the mountain on, with a C value, which is Earth curve. So it's below the surface level and only in existence in the maths. Now that we've got all of those disclaimers out the way, I'm glad someone didn't just say what I was rooting for. What's the official mathematics for where we will see Earth curve at any height? There's a hint. Okay, nobody's going to get it.
1.22 times the square
There we go,
root
Chocolate
of
got
the
there. Go
observer's
ahead,
height feet.
one more time, Chocolate.
1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet.
Right. So in answer to the title question, number one, it only exists in the maths. Number two, in the maths, it exists below surface level. Number three, in the maths, below surface level, non-existent in reality, Earth curve exists at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that literally tells you in the title, Earth curve calculator, where it's claimed Earth curve will be below surface level when extrapolating the difference between surface level and eye level. There we go. So before we've even pressed play, we can answer your question in the title. Roll on the total bullshit. Please share the show and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Link's gone by in the chat. Anything else anyone wants to add before we get into it? I just don't want the immediate start to have an interruption.
Well, one, I'll say good morning.
Morning.
And morning. And two, what's the name of the video?
So the name of the video is How High Do You Have to Be to See the Curvature of the Earth 360/VR?
At least an ounce.
I remember that one. I'll just say before you started, the funny thing about that question is you never actually get an official response, which you would think you would if the Earth curve existed in physicality. But that never happens.
saying we don't actually get 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height of feet at the end of this video?
Well, this is what I'm wondering. Which sort of curve are they measuring? Are they talking where the horizon is the leading edge and how it will therefore obscure things with the 1.22? Or are we like looking left to right? When are we going to see curvature like that in terms of the horizon being reified as the ball edge, but seeing the curvature on the left, on the x-axis?
How dare you ask about left and right curvature, Adam? We don't speak of such things. Right?
Nathan, before you start, I will be posting certain screen images to some references he makes throughout the video. So just let me know.
I'll keep an eye on Master B. Okay, I think that's everybody got their two pennyworth out before we start. So let's kick off.
Hello, it's Scott Manley here with another VR video. So this is not a regular video, it's a video where you can move the camera around, or if you have a VR headset, you can point your head and look at everything here.
So what the hell is the point of this then? I don't get it. So we're looking at virtual reality straight off the bat. Okay.
That's the only way they're going to prove it.
I was just going to say, maybe that's the only place they can see the Earth curve, maybe.
Aye. Not a good start, but this is obviously, I don't think it's this guy's bag, given the amount of subscribers. I don't think he'd be this popular if he was just covering VR, So
this is me flying over the Earth underneath the International Space Station.
No. This is you in VR. Yeah, when people play Jedi Survivor, they don't say, "This is me, Luke Skywalker, defeating the enemies with my lightsaber." It's you in VR. It's immediate suspension of disbelief for the audience's benefit. No, why are you describing it in the first person like you've actually just done this after disclaiming it's VR? You're just making your audience suspend disbelief in an abrupt manner. Read some Stephen Burkoff. Read about alienation of the audience.
What I really wanted to do was make a video to show how the apparent horizon changed.
Apparent? This is a VR horizon. How is this apparent in any way beyond your computer programming and code and little lenses that sit on your eyes or this screen that you're presenting to us?
Just how easy is it to see the curvature?
What, in VR?
Of the Earth from different altitudes.
1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, only existence in the maths, below surface level. I mean, we addressed this before we even got to this nonsense. VR. Like, what's next? Literally, people thinking that they're on whatever planet Alderaan because they've taken a trip there in VR. Is that where this world's leading? People completely suspending all reality, not just suspending disbelief when witnessing something on a screen, suspending all reality. That's where they want you to go, isn't it? It's pathetic.
How can you say
Justification
Alderaan?
fallacy as
Alderaan
well.
was destroyed.
Sorry, Neil first. Go ahead.
I said, how can you say Alderaan? That was destroyed by the Death Star.
I knew it was a Star Wars planet. I just couldn't remember. But you know, look, I can incorporate some time dilation nonsense if you wish. Shh. Is that your only objection? Alderaan's not really here anymore. It never was. It's like, bloody hell, what are you going to tell me next? Aslan? Well, you know.
By the time the explosive star Alderaan light reached you, it took so many light years. So you're right, Nathan.
Oh, Bobby Zines picked up a free membership from Jardo. Chronicles of the Unconvinced. Go and subscribe to him today. Thank you very much, Jardo, for gifting out those memberships. Really appreciate it.
Before you
How
start
high
it
do you
again.
You mean after? By about
Damn it, I'm sorry. I meant to
Go
catch
ahead.
you before you press play. No, I just wanted to point out that him stating the apparent horizon, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? The apparent horizon, isn't that what the horizon is?
It's going to
defined as?
reify now. It's going to reify now the horizon to be the leading edge of a sphere. That's what he's doing. Reification fallacy.
Yeah.
Nathan, I've got a.
It's not very realistic, is it? Because, like, there's stars in the sky.
I just want to reiterate Chocolate's point because it's just got completely brushed past. Yeah, what Chocolate's saying is the apparent position where the sky meets the ground or sea is known as the horizon. So by definition, the horizon is an apparent, that means you can see it, location where the sky or sea, sky meets the sea or land. Well, to say the apparent horizon is to say the apparent position where the sky meets the land or sea. Right, Chocolate?
Exactly.
Go on, Adam.
Nathan. Oh, sorry.
I've got the
No,
space
it was
engine
just-
thing. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Go ahead, Adam.
Just flip on points. Number one, there's stars in the sky, so it's not replicating what we're showing otherwise. And number two, is that an egg they're flying over? That's a very odd looking ball. Unless they're now replicating the yeah, look at the shape of that. Unless they've put fisheye lens in on top. So
Well, yeah, quite right. So Tyson's
Starfield like?
slapping the beach ball explanation is to say that from the ISS, you cannot see the curve of the Earth. Again, I will reiterate that it's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet below surface level and only existent in the maths, if you want to give it a specific number. Nevertheless, Tyson says you can't see it from this height. It's just not noticeable. All right, okay, fine. This guy shows this. So who's right? Neither. It only exists in maths. It doesn't represent as the horizon because it's below surface level in the maths. There is no Earth curve edge to see. Right, 10th, go ahead.
In Master D.
Yeah,
in
got it.
Master D, I got a screenshot of Master D, and this is the closest I found, the VR software. And so it says here in this one, if this is the same one he's using, I'm not certain, but they use data mainly from NASA. So these people who are doing these VR things, they got to get, the data from somewhere. So obviously in this one, the one I picked up is from NASA. So I don't know. I'm sure this guy's close if it's not the very same thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, this is nonsense, even by their own standards. So, I don't know what to say. Yeah, Adam.
Have to go before the curvature of the Earth becomes obvious. And the only way I could really think to do this was with a 360 video, so you can point the camera and see how...
He said, for the curvature of the Earth to be obvious, how high do you have to go? Well, I thought it was blocking the bottoms of boats and buildings. Wouldn't that be obvious?
Yeah, it depends on their mood. But in this case, he's talking about where it would be obvious for the curve of the Earth to appear. Now, he's still, again, poor job of suspending your audience's disbelief in this regard, Scott Manley, because it's so ham-handed. You're in VR questioning when it would be obvious to see Earth curve when you've got a clear curve to the picture of a sky below a sky vacuum. Okay? Because it's come from NASA. This is obviously stupid. It doesn't represent as the world that we see ever, but it does represent a match to the NASA nonsense that you get presented that's been decried by Tyson, or the Red Bull jump, or whichever other fisheye lens nonsense is presented to you. This is not how the horizon presents itself, when its literal definition is incorporating the fact that it's horizontal, not bent. This is absolutely absurd. But here we go, what VR presents him with, and the question it arises about the Earth, no, your Earth curve doesn't exist. It's not the horizon. It only exists in maths below the surface level. And it's only extrapolated out from measuring a flat plane and utilising the principles of horizontal in the maths and geometry of your extrapolation that gives you a below surface level Earth curve that only exists in maths. But shout out to Jard, though, who says NDT has given a new housekeeping question, thanks to Joe Rogan. Question: what comes first, matter and energy, warping space-time, or the warping of space-time, moving matter and energy? Thanks for the super chat.
How the curvature appears to change. So, we've had astronauts posting photographs from space. You see...
No, we haven't. They are liars. Scott Manley. One of the few people we can categorise overtly as being liars in this context, because you're talking about them taking photographs of an Earth curve that only exists in maths from a sky vacuum that would leave us all dead on Earth because the gas we breathe would fill the sky vacuum. in line with entropic law. That's laws of nature that debunk this crap on screen. Now, those men who you think have taken pictures, yeah, they're the liars. Because they've not been to space, they're liars. There is no space, there is no sky vacuum for them to go to. The moment they claim they have, they're automatic liars. But you bought it, haven't you, Scott? Hook, line and sinker. They've lied to your face, told you they got pictures, and you believed them.
Seen photographs from high altitude balloons travelling at 100,000 feet, and of course you've got Mad Mike Hughes, who took a lot of money from flat earthers so he could fly his steam rocket to a high enough altitude to show that he couldn't see the curvature of the Earth. And so
couldn't see the curvature of the Earth because it's below surface level in existence only in mathematics. The horizon, Scott, is not Earth curve. I don't know what this is because this is just VR, so meaningless tosh. But meanwhile, in reality, the horizon, by admission of your own side, is an Earth curve. We wouldn't expect to see it ever, according to the people who we talk to. You know, the people who have to actually defend against knowledgeable flat earthers, not strawman Mad Mike, who apparently died in a steam rocket accident. In any event, that's your poisoning the well fallacy against flat earthers, to suggest that only a flat earther could go up in a rocket and not see Earth curve. Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson decries all notions of Earth curve and its sphericity being ever visible from the ISS height that you've just represented in this crap that completely disagrees with him when he slaps his ball and says that stuff is flat. Does this look flat? No. Meanwhile, below surface level in the maths only, 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet, mate.
So using Space Engine, I can compare all of these.
Can you? What? The CGI renderings in Space Engine or the world that we live in? Because again, you know, suspension of disbelief is not your forte. Alienation of the audience. Like I say, Stephen Burkoff, look into it. You're not very good at it. This VR isn't reality. Yeah, I can really easily say that nobody who's in your audience would ever be duped by what you've just said. It's poor show. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I was interested to know if the program he's using is using a floating coordinate system like Google Earth, or if it's just the ball. Like, can he zoom in from where he's at, and will he?
Okay, what John's pointing out, and this was first brought to our attention really by Arwin and then homed up by Brian at a later date in terms of the use of a Cartesian grid that is flat in nature. So your elevation profiles in Google Earth, if you draw a line across Google Earth and just go to the submenus and ask it to bring up an elevation profile, it will show you that the world's flat and everything is referenced to zero, sea level. And the heights of mountains are referenced to each other on a flat plane. That's how it's measured. Why? Well, because it's using a Cartesian grid system, same as GPS. Now, what John is asking is, in this world provided by NASA or whatever engine it's come from, we don't actually know, he's not necessarily said. Let's just spin back 10 seconds so we've got the image on screen. In this CGI world of fantasy that he's trying to get us to suspend disbelief about, does this also utilize a Cartesian flat Earth grid system, like the maps and charts used to navigate? We're just interested. I mean, it's not disclosed anything about the CGI that is not the world. It's just ham-handedly tried to get you suspended disbelief that it is. Is that about what you were driving for, John? 80 people watching?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was along the line. That was along the lines of it. You know, because if he's using that Cartesian coordinate system with a floating, you know, vertices or vertex, then yeah, he's using a flat plane. That program is, and he's not even aware of it.
Flat earthers so he could fly his steam rocket to a high enough altitude to show that he couldn't see the curvature of the Earth. And so using Space Engine, I can compare all of these. So we're going to start over the sea at an altitude of 1.8 meters.
In CGI.
So this is basically how tall I am, and I'm, you know...
No. How tall you are in a CGI rendering of the world that you're not living in. I mean, this is pure fantasy.
We're standing on the water here. Now, you might...
No, you're not. No, this isn't water.
think that is some pretty amazing superpowers, but just remember,
No, I had no... I was under no apprehension whatsoever that you, where you had suspended disbelief when entering this virtual reality, were actually in the real world flying around like Superman. You did a really crap job of getting the audience to suspend disbelief. It was useless. You don't need to apologise for, oh my God, the audience might accidentally forget that they're not in the real world here. No, don't overestimate your own abilities to get your audience to suspend disbelief. It's pathetic. I can't believe you've just apologised for that. Like, I might have to apologise if I did such a good job of convincing them. Oh my God! Delusional idiot.
in this series of videos we've previously gone this close to a black hole and been okay.
Oh, really? When what? You got people to suspend disbelief that they're in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, travelling along a fourth dimension to the event horizon of a black hole in VR? Did you have to apologise that it was a bit too real then too? What a numpty.
So, this high up, you're
not high. You're on the ground with a pair of bloody headset goggles on. Good. Want to add something? If not, 81 people watching. Well, obviously you took heed. Shared the show. Please smash that share button. That said, the only reason we've got 80 people watching is because people who've definitely shared already. So thank you very much to all of you who shared. That's why I've got an audience at all. So I really appreciate it. And if you have just joined us by chance, then please share the show.
And essentially standing on a beach, looking out,
I'm essentially standing on a beach. Hello, McFly. You are not essentially standing on a beach. Hello? Hello?
Horizon is about 4.7 kilometers away.
Is it? Or is this just a rendering in VR? You see, the horizon is a demarcation point that you can visibly notice if you have a limitation to your view. It's the extremities of your vision. It's where the sky appears to meet the land or sea. This isn't that.
But due to refraction of the
refraction of the atmo, what now?
Atmosphere, frequency.
Sphere? What, the begging the question sphere that we're not standing upon because we're using our Cartesian flat Earth grids to measure and move around on this flat plane? No. Air isn't sphere-shaped. Atmo, that's air. Air sphere? God, don't you know anything about gas behaviour? Gas takes the shape of its containment. It doesn't arbitrarily form a sphere shape. But you're now going to tell us about what happens in sphere-shaped air? Why would you do that?
It can be a little further than that.
Oh, it's because he mentioned refraction. So this refraction is only capable of describing and drawing in orthographic view at a rate of standardised 7/6 of the radius of a presupposed spherical Earth, derived by Al-Biruni's measurements of a flat plane. Here it is again. Here's Al-Biruni measuring the height of the mountain. Notice when he backs away from the mountain to get the height, he's not falling around the curved Earth surface. You notice that? Yeah, he takes a difference when he backs away from it or moves towards it, depending on which story you read. They're all different. Obviously, it's a globe story, so none of them are consistent. Not even the location he's doing this is consistent. But nevertheless, in the bullshit story that makes no sense and keeps changing, he's measuring the height off a flat plane, only to go up, measure eye level, and then measure a dip to the horizon when he's at altitude, and claim that the difference between the surface level he got the height of the mountain and the eye level when he's up it creates a curved surface he wasn't measuring off when he got the height. At sea, below surface level. Now that's where you get your R for your refraction in sphere-shaped air that you just mentioned. You said refraction and then immediately talked about sphere-shaped air, atmosphere, oxymoron, because air isn't sphere-shaped. So this type of refraction only exists in this type of view. That would be orthographic, where you see the side of your own head, or in this case Al-Biruni's, and the target that you are looking at, in this case the top of a mountain, both simultaneously side on. Now that is definitely not the view that we're getting here. This is a first-person view. This isn't an orthographic view. It's a perspective view. Oh, what the hell's this got to do with terrestrial refraction at 7/6 of a radius? When you bend the line of the ground to increase the size of the sphere, to straighten things out when they don't quite work in your maths, with an Earth curve that's only below surface level in those maths. I don't know what you're bloody babbling about, atmosphere and refraction. Maybe in your VR world you didn't convince us we're in.
But we're not modelling refraction, so the only way to see further is to go upwards. And our first...
We're not modelling refraction. Why not? If you're claiming that this VR, which definitely isn't reality, is in any way representative of a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum with sphere-shaped air wrapped around it, atmosphere is standard, always in effect. So automatically this is bunk then. Yeah? What is it, no Atmo Day? Is everybody dead to get these images? A minute ago it was, oh, I'm not Superman flying around in this non-reality I haven't convinced you of. But now we're all non-breathing, no air needed, no Atmo Day, no refraction. What happened to the sphere-shaped air we're supposed to be experiencing in this VR world that's nonsense? Just gone. Don't need to breathe in your VR goggles, eh?
Stop is an altitude...
Why are you talking? Why are we still hearing you? You should have no air. You've just said it doesn't include atmosphere. What are you breathing in this stupid world?
Of about 572 metres, which is the same altitude that Mad Mike Hughes achieved in his...
No. This is nothing. This is a non-atmosphere world when you think it's representative of a sphere-shaped air around a sphere-shaped rock flying through a sky vacuum, not killing us all because gas isn't expanding. But you haven't even got the gas. Do you think it's representative of what Mad Mike did? Now, I'm pretty sure I saw a real video of a man getting into a rocket. And then I saw the rocket going up into the sky. I mean, that was very much something that did happen in reality. You think this is comparable? How dare you? Why, you're a bloody fantasist. They call Mad Mike mad. Go on, whoever that was.
I was going to say, what he's doing, might probably unwittingly or unknowingly, but he's moved into the phase of concession, right? So the concession of his physicality, which is why now all of a sudden he's brought up refraction when he didn't bring that up before. Before he was just, oh, it's cool, look. Now it's like, oh, now we got to give excuses. So we're in phase 2 now.
Steam rocket. At this altitude, you can see for about 100 kilometers, and all...
What, in VR? No disclaimers, just telling you that this is the world. Yeah, you again, talk about alienating an audience. You haven't managed to get me to suspend disbelief in any way, and all you do is keep peppering it with disclaimers that it doesn't represent reality because it hasn't got the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air that you beg the question of, to represent refraction that apparently we need mentioning, even though it's not included. I mean, what the hell?
Well, interestingly enough, I'm guessing from the VR, the horizon will still be where surface level appears to meet the sky. So when he goes up in that VR simulation, it's still a flat plane below him. It's just a circular flat plane. We don't claim shape. They do.
Compared to the perfect, horizontal, the horizon is 0.76 degrees below the exact horizontal. So if you take the...
No way. Did he just disclaim the differential between surface level and eye level?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I heard.
No way. Let's just hear that again.
100 kilometers. And also, compared to the perfect, horizontal, the horizon is 0.76 degrees below the exact horizontal. So if you take the angle...
The exact horizontal? What, like the horizon as used to establish that when measuring a flat plane like Al-Biruni did?
So, eye level.
You understand the differential calculation between surface level and eye level then? Go on.
He was using eye level as the perfect horizontal.
Sorry, you got rumpus. Just one more time.
He was using eye level as the perfect horizontal in his description because he's going to put it in orthographic view.
I see.
But
but he also referenced the horizon and horizontal, which in terms of geometry are very well defined. So, okay.
From the zenith all the way down to the horizon.
From the zenith? How'd you have a zenith? I mean, what?
It would be 90.75 degrees. So the horizon is moved down a little just by going 500 meters up. Now, of course, to get to this altitude...
But you've gone up and the surface level's gone down. With respect to you
It
going
requires
up.
a flat plane for that.
Yeah. How, number one, how profound? The ground got lower. Well, because I got higher. Yeah. Yeah, that's not shocking.
Mad Mike needed a steam-powered rocket, whereas us normal people have to content ourselves with climbing a hill.
So you haven't done jack, you stupid buffoon. You haven't climbed a hill. You're in VR. Again, my bad. I keep forgetting that this idiot seems to think he's managed to get his audience to suspend this disbelief. You didn't manage it, Dumbo. Yeah, what, are you going to claim you've climbed a hill, have you? Oh, yeah, well, I don't see a hill being climbed here. I see a lot of computer-generated crap. That's what I see.
Okay, so let's go higher. Now
No. Let's make the ones and zeros whir around in a computer simulation. You're not going higher. Yeah? This is in no way comparable to Mad Mike. Are you delusional?
we're headed for an altitude of about 10 kilometers.
Really? What about atmosphere, sphere-shaped air? Are we still not including that? Because if not, this is in no way representative of your fantasy sphere world, as depicted in the maths. Because atmosphere is always in effect. You've already told us this isn't got it in it. So what the hell? Why'd you keep comparing this to reality when you've already disclaimed it isn't? Not even compared to the globe Earth maths with a Earth curve below surface. It's not even comparable to that, let alone reality. It's not even comparable to your ball fantasy. It's got no atmosphere. Shout out to Godzilla37. It says, I asked the astrophysicist to give me... Let's just try that again. I asked the astrophysicist to give it to me straight. He responded with a curved ball. Right. Would have been better if I didn't butcher it, but thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support, Godzilla. How many watching? 86. Man, the numbers are really slowly crawling up today. What have I done? What's happened?
And again, many of you have probably experienced this because that's the altitude that many jet airliners will fly at. Of course.
Yeah, you know what? I have experienced that. I'd go out to the back window of the aeroplane when I was a jet setter, and I'd look out of it and go, God, I wish I could go higher. I can't see any curvature. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson, although it wasn't from him, but I'm going to incorporate it into my story, which I knew anyway because I was a very devout heliocentrist and appreciated, like Neil deGrasse Tyson disseminates, you can't see the curve of the Earth from those altitudes. You couldn't even see it from the ISS. It's like being an ant, a couple of millimeters off a beach ball.
Of course, on a commercial airliner, you have the tiny little windows to look out rather than this grand vista you're experiencing now. And that's...
Well, I don't know. You can go onto the back where the galley is, or whatever they call it on an aeroplane. And there's a emergency exit with a corridor right next to it, no chairs in the way. And you can put your head right up against it and get an angle on the world and see it. Like this. Now, don't get me wrong, most people are more interested in whatever crap movie is on the back of their headrest in fuzzy vision, on a pair of headsets that are drowned out by an engine. But, you know, me, I was much more interested in getting this view. My bad, this isn't the view I had because this isn't real. I got a real view from the back of the aeroplane. I can detail it. Yeah? Now you think that a small window prevents your eyes getting closer to the outside world? Right, there's only about an inch between you and the outside world on an aeroplane, between you and the window. No, I don't know where you've got that idea from. I got a pretty good idea of what the world looked like from those windows. Flat. Of course, they were navigating it flat, with flat charts and flat maps. They had to if they got lost and they needed the sextant on board the plane. They'd have used flat Earth elevation angle measurements and the stars that we used to make the charts and maps to find their way back on the flat plane after figuring out their location on the flat plane. Again, like I say, this has nothing to do with this crap on screen because this isn't reality. It doesn't even comport with the globe Earth fantasy model in mathematics. Another shout out to Blue Ridge Ranger. I mean, there's no people here, but the super chats are certainly rolling in. Thank you very much for all this support. Really do appreciate it. I am very poor. Anyway, Blue Ridge Ranger, thank you for the super chat. He says, matching Godzilla for his cute super chat. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support. Although there is 90 people watching now, so the numbers are definitely crawling up. Thank you for everybody who shared the show. Please share the show if you just got here. The only reason you're here, someone shared it with you. I should really share the algorithmic love, even though this guy's a lot bigger than me and we have, to a certain degree, been quite harsh with him. But for those who've just joined us, we are covering Scott Manley, and the link to his video is going to be going by in the chat. The only reason I do this, it's entirely selfish, because I want him to put a link to my video if he responded. In the same way I'm sharing the algorithmic love for somebody considerably bigger, I would hope that he would say, well, Nathan Oakley 1980, who criticised me overtly about having CGI without any representative of the maths, that's fantasy maths of globe Earth, atmosphere in it, actually, I can do the same thing with atmosphere in CGI, blah, 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 or whatever he said. I'd hope he put a link to my video. So go and let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link to his video going by in the chat now. The video being, how high do we have to be to see the curvature of the Earth 360/VR? Another shout out to Godzilla37. Now it's matched blue. I use Canadian. Smiley face. I don't really know what you're talking about, but thank you very much for all this support. I really appreciate it. 95 people watching. We're going to hit 100 people. Wow, brilliant. Okay, right, let's get back to it. Was there any comments before I do?
That's of course assuming you're lucky enough to get the window seat and haven't been pushed out of it by a child who then of course insists on playing on their phone the whole time and climbing over you to get to the bathroom repeatedly. Anyway, from 10 kilometers up, the horizon now extends out to 300 kilometers away, and the horizon angle is now 3.2 degrees.
The horizon what? The horizon angle? Uh-oh. Now, the problem with a sphere Earth, with sphere-shaped air, is that there's no straight lines to anything. The ground's curved, and your line of sight is curved. So pray tell, Scott Manley, how can an angle on a globe be in effect at all when nothing has a straight line to it ever? I mean, if you put your hand in front of your face, it's not really where you think it is, right? On a globe, in a globe fantasy, where you think this CGI rendering of a non-mathematical world that isn't real and this doesn't even does represent reality. Well, in that reality, your hand isn't even where you think it is. What makes you think you've got a straight line to give you an angle? Oh, just while we're on that subject. Hey, Rufy. Hey, buddy. How's that geometric horizon working out for you, buddy? Yeah? What's that you say? Refracted? Really? No straight lines to anything ever? I mean, this guy's got the same problem as you, Rufy. Angles, you say? No, my friend. You don't get angles off a sphere. You've got sphere-shaped air. How are you going to get a straight line to anything ever? Are you delusional? Don't you know your own model? Don't you know you've got no straight lines ever? Maybe you're having this CGI that doesn't represent a globe Earth that isn't reality.
Degrees below the horizontal.
Horizontal? How have you got that when a globe Earth's got bendizontal? You know, you haven't got a horizontal anything ever if you're on a globe, my friend. Horizontal's curved for you. So you're applying these flat Earth geometric principles to a curved world with no straight lines to anything. That's a bit of a problem because all those things you just mentioned unequivocally prove the Earth is flat. By way of the angle measurements you would require to do any of the things you just said. Now that's going to require a flat Earth for those angles, my friend, and the globe doesn't have them. Definitely not conducive with this. Whoever was trying to join, I was in the middle of a waffle. Please try again and I'll let you in.
Some of you, by the way, might be wondering where I chose to do this, so...
in CGI? I already knew. Again, mate, look, you don't need to do this, right? You didn't manage getting the audience to suspend disbelief. So asking them, if you want to know where I did this, we already know it's in CGI. Like in a fake world that doesn't exist, that doesn't represent globe maths, and the globe maths doesn't represent reality. So it's kind of moot either way, but this doesn't represent your fantasy world of globe in the maths.
So this is over the Mediterranean.
Just a quick. He's describing these angles off of the horizon, but is he saying that this was at 10,000 feet? Yeah, and the horizon is 300 miles away, which is fine. I'm not disputing that, but he then describes it as an angular change, and I was wondering why. And it's because if that horizon that's 300 miles away has risen to eye level because he's at 10,000 feet, off the actual true horizontal, that surface is actually 60,000 feet lower than the surface he's at above. So he's 6 times lower than the height he is above the Earth. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
it should be
you're incorporating the 8 inches per mile drop to
Yeah.
the vista he's represented with. So he might be off his zenith position on a globe Earth at 30,000 feet for the sake of argument. However, what's presented with him in the view in his CGI rendering of a non-world that's not the globe maths, and the globe maths isn't even reality anyway, so it's moot, has a drop. Therefore, the elevation of the ground ahead of him is lower than the ground above his zenith position. Correct?
correct, yeah, but by a magnitude of 6,000 if he's at 10,000 foot and it's 300. So I'm saying, but that thing is also at his eye level. So he's describing the change at an angle, and I think the reason being, if he says at 10,000 feet that horizon's 60,000 feet lower than where I am, it sounds ridiculous. But you can say it if you go at this height, it's 2.7 degrees. There's no significance to it in the real world. It's just an angular change. But if you actually describe where that horizon's supposed to be, it doesn't fit with what you're viewing, does it?
LVA Paul says, I'm still waiting for proof of the doozers. Shout out to you, Paul.
The proof of doozers is that Fraggles exist. If doozers didn't exist, Fraggles would starve, wouldn't they?
103 people watching. Massive thank you to all of you who smashed the share button upon prompting, and all the people who shared to get the people here to share. Thank you very much. If you just got here, please share. Smash the share button. Get more people here. See if we can get it up to 250. Thank you for sharing.
Exactly, Adam. And if they're going to deny Fraggles, then why is the dog barking?
I retract my thanks, Paul. You see what you've done? You see what you did?
Just south of France. So as we go up, you'll start to see other countries that are recognizable. In particular, Italy will stand out because of its famous boot shape. Anyway, now we are going to go higher and enter a much more exclusive altitude. We're headed up to about 30 kilometers or about 100,000 feet. That's the kind of altitude you'd get from an experimental weather balloon or a high altitude spy plane like the U-2. Or if
It's just a shame that we aren't representing this in sphere-shaped air atmosphere. I mean, obviously, it's kind of a good job because, you know, given the second law of thermodynamics would be applied to your model to make it realistic. If this was gas, I don't know what it is, blue haze that you've got. I mean, it's quite cool. It looks good. But if this was gas, which you've disclaimed it isn't, then it would fill this black area. Because according to the religion of a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum, this is a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr. And the high-pressure gas, which isn't in this model, but seems to be represented by a blue haze that isn't there, but is there, but hasn't been calculated for, well, all of this high-pressure gas would immediately vacate into the area of volume it had to fill in line with entropic law. So it's kind of a good job that this doesn't represent your fantasy of a sphere Earth with a surface level that has an Earth curve below it. Because all the gas would just be vacating now, wouldn't it?
Nathan, two pictures in Master D to his reference of a high altitude balloon at 100,000 feet.
Okay, so which one was this? Does it say?
Well, you see, it's the 120,000 feet. This is a high altitude balloon, and just showing a picture to a reference that he made of an actual balloon.
Oh, it's
video.
The high altitude balloon. Okay, thank you. What's the other one? Same thing.
Well,
okay.
It's just in the same video, just another shot of it. So here's a high altitude balloon, allegedly at 120,000 feet. There's a video of it, many videos on YouTube of people doing this on their own. So not NASA, but just individuals. And this is what they have on their video. Just
Hold
what
on
you
a
see
minute,
there
this
in the
looks a
still
bit-
shot.
This looks concave to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit Picard, isn't it? That. What a difference to. That was when you had the video. I'm thinking, well, I can see your supposed Earth curve in your CGI. You've drawn it in. Look, it's curved. You could do it at the other height as well. You could see you'd curved it. That's not commensurate with reality. is the only thing I say. His CGI doesn't match up with reality. It didn't match up particularly well in the plane, but it was hard to tell a difference at the plane height. But I mean, look, there you go. There's the two contrasting. You rubbish at CGI, dude. It doesn't match reality.
Is he showing? I'm not looking at the video, but is he showing curvature at 100,000 feet?
Yep.
Yeah.
He might want to go have a talk with his friend, smoking the grass, who went out of his way to tell the whole audience, you can't see the curvature of the Earth from 2 millimeters above this beach ball, which represented 120,000 feet. So, problems.
He's claimed you can measure it at 10,000 feet by measuring the dip in the horizon, because that's what the horizon is. And if you do stick with that claim, then you get to that kind of height, you are going to see it. Even in the old crappy vision, like Atari ST graphics, you used to have the people modeling it. And if you put it there, it has to play out. It's like the obstruction caused by the horizon. Earth curve will play out if you put it in there. You can try and pretend by going, you won't see that in a very convincing way because you're Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it has to play out.
Yeah, it plays out at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet. That's where your horizon is. Well, that will increase as you increase in height, right? At a whatever it's not exponential, it's not logarithmic. I can't remember whatever it is. I'm sure Adam, the mathematician, will tell me in a second. But the point is that at a point, shout out to Roy. Is it Cooper? My Perspective. Day one, flat Earth videos. What else is on the internet? Math Powerlands got me to wake up to the obvious and observable flat reality. What else is out there? Roy. All right, let's have a look at this. He explains, based on the maths of an Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet, you would raise an elevation, and as you did, the curve would become more and more pronounced until it turned into a ball. A bit like taking off Earth as a ball in a rocket, like shown in all the sci-fi movies. The further you get away, the more ball-shaped it becomes. Cut to Tyson. That stuff is flat. You'll never see it. Doesn't matter how high you go. ISS? Pfft, never going to see Earth curve. Why? Well, because we never see Earth curve. It's not the horizon. The horizon they're describing at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet is a hijacking of perspective. And it's not curving. Right? That's not a curve that you're seeing when they claim, oh, a boat's blocked by the bottom of the curve. Yeah, but it's not a curve. Shh! This diffraction limits Earth curve, okay? It's the only existence below the surface level in our maths, but that's what we say is the horizon now, so accept it. It's blocking boats and buildings, it's not curved, and it'll never be curved at any height. Okay? That's what they tell you. It's nonsense, double-speak contradictions, and we're not living on a surface that gives us a geometric principle that's horizontal from the horizon if it's bloody curving as you get higher. So they explain why it doesn't curve as you get higher, until you get beyond a height that you can achieve realistically. And then it does curve for the astronauts with their photos that you've bought wholeheartedly.
The trouble is, if you then do it in VR CGI and you give it the parameters that they claim the ball Earth has, the computer draws that curve as you would see it. And that's what the computer's doing there. If it was a ball, it would look like that at this height. It doesn't, though, does it?
No, so it's wrong. Here's what it looks like at that height. This is an actual photo. What's that you say? The astronauts showed you photos too, did they? Yeah, they're liars. They're claiming to be in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum where gas below them at high pressure isn't expanding into a space it has to fill. Why? Oh, because it's arbitrarily sphere-shaped. You've already bought their lies, haven't you? They're just floating around in sphere-shaped air that doesn't expand into vacuums. Okay. Meanwhile, here's a picture from a high-altitude balloon. They all look the same. The lenses curve the image. So in this case, it's curving up like a bowl. Concave. Doesn't mean it is. It's a geometric principle utilising the horizon for a horizontal. Meanwhile, lenses bend. That's part of the nature of taking pictures. Yeah? Barrel distortion, it's called. Meanwhile, concave or convex, that's not representative of anything that's physically happening to the horizon, which is only an apparent location, where the sky appears to meet the land or sea. But this concave representation is absolutely sod all Like your representation in CGI, and as Adam's pointed out, it's because in your model without atmosphere that doesn't represent the globe Earth maths with its geometric horizon below surface level, you've got it doing what the Earth would do if you raised to 120,000 feet. And it would curve like this. It doesn't. But that's what you would need it to do if it did. The horizon, a principle that's used to establish horizontal, would need to curve, violating a geometric principle. But that's your fantasy world of non-atmospheric, non-representative of the globe fantasy maths in VR. It's sad. Meanwhile, in reality, concave Earth. No, just barrel distortion. Below the horizontal line of this lens, therefore curving upwards. Simple.
Yeah, but in 1969, they went to the moon and they showed us pictures of the blue marble. So it's over.
Right, popped into a curved shape then, hey? Right? Oh, yeah, of course it did.
Say some daredevil wanting to set a skydiving altitude record. And no, I'm not talking about Felix with his energy drink promotion, I'm talking about Alan Eustace, who spent his own money and set the record and didn't even tell anyone until afterwards. From this altitude, the horizon stretches out to about 600 kilometers.
Yeah, do you think your weak-ass attempt to get the audience to suspend disbelief is going to be in any way reinforced by talking about something that a real man did and then telling them about what your horizon in CGI is doing? Yeah, every time you do it, I'm going to point out how useless you are at getting an audience to suspend disbelief. I mean, beggars belief that you've got 1.5 million subscribers. I mean, maybe everyone's just stupid. Maybe society has actually, since the 80s, been achieved in terms of getting it to be dumbed down as much as humanly possible, to the point where drongos watching this crap will go, right, it's just talked about somebody looking at a real horizon and doing something real that they didn't even tell you about until after. Now, the horizon, referring to his CGI, does X, Y, and... No, you're useless, mate.
Nathan, I got 6 pictures in Master D on Alan Eustace.
Okay, yeah.
Did this guy just give a distance to the horizon?
He's had a couple of foibles like that, but yes.
How did he validate that? How do you measure a distance to the horizon?
With flat Earth.
But you can't.
Well, you can utilise it to establish horizontal. I see what you're saying. I misheard you. You're actually asking how you can measure a physical location we call the horizon. You can't. It's a not actual position. It moves as you move.
Yeah, it's an optical phenomenon.
Right.
It's like,
it moves where you move.
Yeah, it's like, what's the weight of an inferior mirage? You know what I mean?
I like it. That's a good one. How much does an inferior mirage weigh? That's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to nick that. That's copyright Nathan Oakley. Go ahead, Ted.
Maybe I'm or listening too much into it, right? But I don't know. But the way he kind of shitted on Felix's his high altitude jump and then skirted onto this guy, it almost seemed like, I mean, I don't know. I've never heard this guy before, but it almost seems, because that's the example that Smoke in the Grass uses, right? So it's almost, if I were to say he's using some sort of a tactic, it seems like he's trying to stay away from that because that's the infamous video that Neil deGrasse Tyson used. And that's the one that, the flat earthers always talk about. So now he wants to talk about this other video that nobody's heard of. I don't know. It seems kind of funny style to me.
Okay, we don't need to read out the article. I'm sure people have read it off screen. But first image, is this him in a little basket sideways? 10th?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just following up with the Felix one. Yes, the article there just says 57-year-old Google engineer. So that's Alan Eustace. And then the next picture will show him just before he's released at the altitude. And then the next one shows separating from the actual balloon. And then the rest are just pictures consecutively right after that, as you can see what the background of the Earth looks like.
Concave in this one, in the reflection of his helmet. Or is it through it? No, it's through it. This is concave. Curling upwards.
Well, they all seem they all seem to go
it's all right.
concave,
It's okay.
convex.
Everything's globe shaped again. It's all good.
The reason that nobody heard about this one, I would say, is because of two reasons. One, either it didn't actually prove anything, or two, it didn't actually happen. It's all made up.
No, the guy I heard about it. I don't know where he's getting. Nobody heard about it. I heard about it, and he broke Felix's record, and he had the money to do a private venture to do it, and I heard about it. So all these things he's saying, like I don't know where he's getting around. I found it easy to find, and then I've got Felix next with his jump, and you could see right as he's about to jump off, you see a curve of the Earth on the Felix one. And then when he's about to get out of the capsule to jump, it's not there. And then this guy, Alan Eustick, has a different Earth he jumped to because it doesn't match Felix's Earth.
What was this altitude this guy supposedly reached? Because I think I have heard that somebody did break Felix's record. What was his altitude?
Yeah, his altitude was 135,890 feet. I believe Felix was 120 something, 124. I can't remember.
Yeah. This was the one with the video that was all weird, especially when he landed. I don't know. Maybe we can get into that one day. 'Cause I remember looking into this a couple years ago, but I'll let y'all go on.
The pictures I'm seeing, the tent you put in here from this guy, Alan Eustace, is it?
Eustace, yeah.
Eustace. Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying the biggest heap of nothing that you can try and make into somehow make into if you they're showing you so little in those pure photographs, right? That you can either make it into a globe or make it into whatever you want because there's nothing in it. There's like a load of photographs with nothing going on in it. So
the knees is good. It's hard to turn the one with picture of the two knees. The next one.
But the point I'm making is that are they the best pictures they have? Do you know what I mean? You're not seeing anything. It's the biggest joke. And what's going to happen? Just 1 second. What's going to happen? Like what happens with all of these is that as the camera moves, the lens moves. As the camera moves, the lens obviously moves. And if it's not got some kind of correction, because you can't totally correct for barrel distortion, but if it's not some kind of correction, you're going to see convex, concave, convex, concave, a moment of steaming horizontal, then back to convex, concave.
Well, that was my point. Thanks, Brian. That was my point. All of these, no matter which one it is, it's always flipping from three things: concave, convex, horizontal, concave, convex. They all do it. And Felix's record was 128,057 feet. So this guy didn't beat it by much at 135,000 feet. So
what I would say is if you go to the VR, that wouldn't be the case. We would have the curve. So we would go from curve to more curved, back to normal curve, and then up to not almost a little bit straight. That image in the VR is never matched, except maybe at the extremes of the barrel distortion. If you can get it like that, you might see it that way, or you might see it the other. If you see those two extremities, then you know that's the barrel distortion, and the bit in the middle, when you get it in the middle, is the reality without the barrel. You get me? So you would see a difference again in the distortions because you're looking at a curved line. Look at how the CGI renders it when you put in the size of their ball. At that height, it would play out, and therefore you would never get, certainly in the middle of the picture, it wouldn't be a straight line. It would be the curve that the CGI demonstrates.
The horizon is now depressed by about 5.5 degrees.
You'll need a flat Earth for that.
Curvature should be much more obvious now, even at this low level of graphical detail. Incidentally, I intentionally chose to turn the clouds off here so that they wouldn't be hiding any of the geographical features.
What, the clouds that have gone up from surface level into the sky So what? It would be better if you didn't have CGI clouds hanging around right next to a sky vacuum, not dispersing into it. Yeah, I said that was a wise choice also. I mean, obviously in this model, you've got to remove quite a few aspects of reality to then apologise that people might be thinking you're Superman flying around in reality. Yeah, what a numpty.
No Atmo
Anyway.
Day.
Good.
He's going to remove the Atmo, so no Atmo Day.
He already has.
Nathan,
Let's continue.
Can
Yes.
you just in the top left corner, there's those cursors that should allow you to move the relative image of the picture and give you that barrel distortion we were talking about. Yeah, and up and down a bit.
Continue
There all the
onwards and
time.
up.
You see what I mean? When it sits in the middle,
Yeah, it
it's
never
stopped
gets
the
straight.
curve.
Yeah, it doesn't do that. At the middle, it's curved. At the top, it's curved. It's curved because it's a curved CGI rendering of a curved surface. You're above a ball in this rendering, right? Why wouldn't it?
Yeah, because the computers do as it's told. It's rendered it as the dimensions it's been given.
Right. Meanwhile, horizontal is how the horizon always represents itself to you. What, it drops in angle, capable of only measurement off a flat Earth? Yeah, it does. Because the surface is what gives you your horizon. And if you go up in height, the surface is below you. More and more as you get higher and higher. Shocking, isn't it?
Upwards to an altitude of 100 kilometers. Now, this is probably the most exclusive altitude. It's
Right, you haven't been there, though. This isn't you there. Right, this is what the CGI rendering tells you would be there if you remove the clouds and atmosphere so they didn't disperse into the sky vacuum. Not that they would anyway, because you've got arbitrarily in a sphere air, atmosphere. Meanwhile, you think you've reached the point of an exclusive club? Nah, definitely not. He's just a fantasist. Yeah? You think you're Jedi Survivor when you're running around in a game with a lightsaber, don't you? It's sad.
It's only been available to suborbital vehicles, and there's the X-50.
What's that then? Orbits? Orbits is a begging the question fallacy, based on Kepler and his assumptions of motions. After deriving flat Earth elevation angle measurements to all the stars and producing models and maps that were flat, you can extrapolate all of that data out into orbital motions so you can predict when Easter will be. It doesn't mean that's our reality. Is that what this reality is in your CGI rendering? All right. Isn't that interesting?
Was he admitting that only a few people will get to see that?
Yeah, but so what? He hasn't. And neither have we. This isn't that.
And neither are they.
I think that's the danger of this, right? And, if we're going to talk about the programming with virtual reality and AI and all this other shit, right? Because now people will witness something like this and they will think, I have seen the curvature of the Earth. I think it's the next, sorry to use the word, evolution of the brainwashing.
15. The Spaceship 1, Spaceship 2, and of course New Shepard, but only 3 of those have had people fly in them. It's a very small number of people that have reached 100 kilometers and then come back. From this vantage point, the horizon is 1,000 kilometers away. You can see to the far side of Italy. You can see Sicily now. You can see the Alps.
Yeah, Adam already pointed this out, but based on the geometry of a sphere Earth, the ground that's falling away from you, just represented in this model as curving, is also falling away from you at a massive rate.
Horizon is now depressed 10 degrees from the horizontal. The curvature
10 degrees from the horizontal? Horizontal, as in like horizons and stuff. Yours is bent in this stupid model. So I don't know how this geometric principle applies, especially when how many degrees below horizontal is a flat Earth declaration. I mean, when he says the horizon, Adam, see on screen now, he says that the horizon's a specific angle. How can he claim that if it's curving away from him? Every single point that he measures from this vantage point, if he was really at this elevation, it's not, he's in a CGI rendering, but let's pretend for a second that in his fantasy world of this model, representative of the world that we don't live in, just the maths of Earth curve, with 1.2 times the square root of the Earth's surface height in feet. He's saying the angle to the horizon is x at this altitude, But if the horizon, as he's declaring, is curving, the angle to every point will be different, won't it?
Correct.
How can he make this declaration about the angle to the horizon when clearly this is lower than this? So, no, your assertion about the angle is in reference to a flat plane elevation angle measurement or depression angle in this instance. Well, the depression angle to the horizon would have to be accurate to your estimation in degrees to every point on the horizon. This bent stupidity that isn't a geometric representation of straight, horizontal, would have a different angle along every point of it. So, Scott Manley, riddle me this, you total clown. How can you make an angle declaration in reference to the horizon when you're showing it curved? It would be different at every point along it, you stupid bonehead. You don't understand how angles work. What a clown. Please let him know on that smug little point. Yeah? Nathan Oakley or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent ye. And maybe ask him. In this video, you say that the angle to the horizon is X. Well, given that it's shown as a curve, how could it possibly have an angle to it? It would be different at every point along the curve.
It would have to be.
Oh, what have I done? I've bolstered up my chat. I'm trying to share the link. Oh,
The point is interesting, isn't it? Because if you were in these X5 rocket jets or whatever, your backup navigation system is celestial. Are you going to try and take an elevation angle off of that horizon, are you?
Yeah. Why do you get lost? And you need to use the elevation angle measurement to the stars to triangulate your position when lost. Which is likely if you're drifting up high in the sky and, I don't know, wind catches you. Then you might end up over a different piece of land. Lost. So you go, oh, God, what are we going to do? Okay, well, you can triangulate your position. But then you've got to establish a horizontal baseline. With respect to the horizon. What are you going to do with this horizon? Which part are you going to establish horizontal? Is it this bit? Or this bit? Or this bit? Or this bit? Or this bit? And none of it. It's all curved. So this completely shits all over celestial navigation. It's suddenly not capable because of the curved horizon that's got different angles all along it.
Nathan, just a comment. All almanacs are based on a horizontal for the angle, and it's in the book, which whether you get the Air Almanac or the Nautical Almanac, it's all based on a horizontal to get the angle. So when they get the angle with the sextant or an internal device, as we've seen that the faster airplanes like the U-2 spy plane and so forth have, or one of those planes, I can't remember which one, had the internal one. They had a glass top, and it would see stars at a really, I mean, their airplane's going really fast, but this thing was able to capture the constellations and different stars. And because it was already preset to a horizontal, it would tell you where you are while you're 100,000+ feet in the air or whatever level you're flying. But it's all preset to a horizontal to begin with, just like the Nautical Almanac and the Air Almanac. So they're never using a curve, ever.
According to this bonehead, as soon as you go high, you can't establish horizontal for celestial navigation. Meanwhile, even the astronauts themselves have been shown with photographs holding sextants. Yeah, sextants are a universally used tool. It doesn't make any difference how high you are. The elevation angle measurement to the star still works perfectly. So no, elevation has no bearing on the baseline that you can establish with a bubble sextant, for instance, at eye level. Or the horizon. But of course, if you're using it to establish horizontal, this curve won't help you, will it? Meanwhile, all the maps, models, charts, they're all based on flat plane elevation angle measurements to the stars. It's because Earth's flat. That's how it's navigated. That's how it's mapped. That's how all the charts work.
Curvature is very much invisible, but of course if you're on one of these flights you'll only have a few minutes to take in this view before you fall back to Earth. Okay.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Wow.
Speaking of which, on the Felix Baumgartner, he landed 44 miles east of his takeoff location. So what he's missing here is that when Felix did this, Earth stopped rotating. Because if Earth was rotating under Felix, he should have been 2,000 miles to the west. So Felix landed in the wrong direction, 44 miles east. What's going on here? Did you just prove Earth doesn't rotate?
Oh, dear.
The globe identified as rotating towards the west that day.
Hey, but only 44 miles. It needs to be 2,000 miles if it turned direction at the same speed.
It just went a little bit
It also
slower.
slowed down too.
Oh, slow down too. Okay, sorry. Had a pit stop.
Okay, while we've got 100 people watching, please share the show if you haven't done so already. It'd be great to get a few more people as we're running a little bit longer than we would typically. But yeah, thank you for sharing the show if you have done already. Great to see 100 people here. Be great to have more.
Okay, let's go onwards and upwards into orbit, although we're not going to be orbiting, but we're going to an altitude...
No, you're damn right you're not, you're in VR, but orbits are begging the question fallacy, derived by the church to give you Easter.
...of about 250 kilometers, and this is roughly the average altitude that Yuri Gagarin was at when he was flying over Africa on his way back to Earth. The actual Vostok 1 orbit varied between about 170 and 330 kilometers, so...
All nonsense. All based on presuppositions of a sphere Earth in a vacuum, with orbits assumed also. Yeah, these derivations that have come from the Church of Orbital Motions are just not going to cut it, mate. They're just religious beliefs used to track the stars to make predictions. That's all they are. Heliocentric in nature, from the Church in origin. Yeah, we're not in orbit.
I chose an average, and from here, you can now see Africa. You can see all the way across the Mediterranean. The horizon stretches off to 1,500 kilometers.
And is bent.
1 second. Can I just point out that Jay told him media, so what he could point out to be 1,000 miles from an airplane, which would be about 5 to 6 miles up above the Great Lakes near Chicago. So that would be 1,000 miles from 6 miles up.
You did. Excellent.
And the horizon is now depressed by about 15 degrees.
At which point on the curve is it depressed by 15 degrees? Is it depressed by 15 degrees here? Or here? Because based on the fact that it's a curve, you can't even measure an angle to it. But it's going to be a different degree at every point along the curve. Do you not understand how an angle works, Scott? Clearly not. You're not exactly a genius when you're describing a curve with a specific single angle to it. That makes you a numpty. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Go ahead, Rumpelstiltskin.
Sorry. Why does he keep saying horizontal if I'm looking at a curved line?
Because he's an idiot who keeps making declarations about how much in angle the horizon's dropping when it's varying on a curve. He thinks that's going to give him an angle. It's like, no, it will be different at every point on the curve, Dumbo.
But Yuri probably never saw this on Vostok 1. He had an instrument called the Visor.
Saw what your CGI NASA rendering gives you in VR? No, he definitely didn't see this. I mean, if you want to see what Felix Baumgartner saw, you know, he has a horizontal that he could potentially point a sextant at out of this view. It's not curving at 125,000 feet, but you have got a stupid amount of curve that won't give you the declarations of angle drop that you gave in depression terms. It's ludicrous.
Which you could use to view the Earth. But
you're not viewing the Earth, you're viewing CGI. How many times? Go on, whoever it was. Was that somebody else, or was that me?
Distorted the image a lot, and it probably wouldn't have given him an authentic view of the curvature of the Earth.
What, like this is authentic? When it's come out of the ones and zeros in your little model, and you're talking about angles to it when it's curved? Oh, clown.
So let's head to the altitude of the International Space Station, 400 kilometers up. And from here, yeah, you have the cupola. You can look down with your own eyes, and you can really appreciate...
We are, again, how many times you can look down with your own eyes? What, at CGI renderings in VR? What a dick! You didn't suspend disbelief, dickhead! Go on, whoever it was.
Yeah, it was me. I just wanted to point out that recently Taboo Conspiracy had a video up where he shows a photograph that the guy took from Wales, from a high altitude in Wales, and he showed how he photographed the Alps 700 miles away, right? Now, this guy is telling you about when they're up 40 miles or something in the sky, whatever it was. You can see 1,500 kilometers, this kind of rubbish, right? But someone can go up to the top of a mountain in Wales and can see 700 miles away, right? And the funny thing is he had to take down the video because the guy complained. The guy obviously is a normie, or the ballers got on the guy's case or something. But the guy complained to Taboo Conspiracy they didn't want Taboo showing his photograph in his video. So Taboo had to take down the video because the guy was not happy. He didn't have to do it, but he said because the guy wasn't happy about it, he took it down. So he had to take down the video because your man didn't like the fact that the Earth was flat.
Appreciate the beauty.
Just saying, this guy is making a big deal and has seen 1,500 kilometers from God knows how many miles up. When we're seeing 700 and 1,000 kilometers, or sorry, 700 to 1,000 miles from mountains and airplanes.
And splendor of planet Earth below you. At least that's what I'm told. I would obviously love to experience it for myself. From this altitude, the horizon stretches out 2,000 kilometers. The view is depressed by, the horizon is depressed by 20 degrees.
Where? Is it depressed by 20 degrees here? Or is it here? Or is it here? Or is it here? Or is it here? Or here? Or maybe here? Or maybe here? Because every single point on a curve will give you a different degree. No, it won't ever give you an angle. It's a curve. What are you talking about? Every time you mention how much the horizon's depressed by, you're like, hello? How are you going to get an angle from this curve? Are you delusional? Do you not know how angles work? Yeah, how many times have I got to say it to you, mate? You're just making these assertions because the globe Earth mathematics has a horizon that's horizontal because it has to be. It's part of the geometric principles used to make the assertion about an Earth curve edge existent below surface level in mathematical orthographic view. That's then juxtaposed onto this, or transposed, I should say, onto this CGI rendering of a VR world with a horizon that you're declaring how many angles it's depressed by, how many degrees. What a clown! If only you could hear yourself while you were saying this stupid nonsense. Oh, you can, with me telling it you. Yeah, go and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Sorry about that. I thought you were finished. Yeah, I was going to say that actually what he's actually referencing is the level of actual depression the ballers have. You know, so they have 20 degrees of depression right now in his video because his video has to be CGI to show that. There's no way for reality to ever show what his video is showing.
Oh, I see. Are you on a different scale? Is that number of degrees of depression like at 20 degrees of depression you get committed?
Well, the depression only gets worse because the higher they go in this guy's video, the more curve they see. But in reality, the higher they go, the lesser curve they see. No matter where they go.
He was fine until he went into orbit, because previously he could use down to attain things in the balloon and stuff. He could orientate himself perpendicular with the horizon, but now he's in space and he's in an orbit. He's got no way of orientating down in reference to his GP above the ball Earth. So he's going to need a space plumb bob at this point to take any angle now.
Yeah, it all presents massive problems in terms of the contradictory geometry that he's now got to hold.
Yeah.
From here, you can see Africa easily to the south, but if you look to the north, you can now see the coast of northern Europe and a bit of England. So that's the altitude the space station orbits at, but the space shuttle has gone even higher.
Nope, neither have done either. Orbits is a begging the question fallacy, come from the church. Begging the question fallacy of an orbital motion for the ISS is bunk. The ISS, as they describe it, not the light in the sky that you can see in your telescope, what they claim the light in the sky is. Tin can in a sky vacuum. Nope. If they were hovering above sky clouds that aren't dispersing into a sky vacuum that they're supposed to be whizzing around in orbit in, then all of the gas would vacate and we would have nothing to breathe. We'd all be dead. So no, I can debunk every claim that you're about to make about trips to the moon, trips to space, trips to do Hubble. No, none of it's real. No orbiting ISS, no men in space. Space is fake. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Simple. It's entropic law. It's a law of nature. Gas fills space.
In its highest mission, it was up at 620 kilometers and could see much further, and actually apparently confused the astronauts. From this vantage point, our horizon now extends about 2,500 kilometers in every direction. You can see the whole of the United Kingdom, you can see Ireland, you can also catch...
How many degrees is it depressed by, Scott?
Bits of Scandinavia there. See all the way down to the Straits of Gibraltar and all the way out towards Greece and Turkey.
This is crap. This is crappier than some 1970s movie where they've had a high budget and tried to create a sphere Earth. This is terrible. It doesn't look anything like the world I know.
Why
looks
does
absolutely
English Channel
ridiculous.
a desert?
Look at it. Look at the UK on this. It looks so stupid.
How do they use a plumb bob in gravitational space? What I mean is that they have to, in all their space stuff, because of the 1969 moon landings, they have to show a force of attraction gravity, right? Not Einsteinian effect gravity. So that means it's a force of attraction issue. So the further you are from what they would call a gravitational mass, then the less that gravitational mass has an influence on you. So how's a plumb bob going to work under those circumstances?
It can't, because they're in supposed orbit. Because they're supposed to have about 8.6 G up there, but because they're in orbit, that's why they're weightless. So therefore, the only way in which you could create an orientation to then take an angle from would be to orientate yourself to your relative GP. That would then enable you to at least create a horizontal, wouldn't it?
How do you get the plumb bob to be a plumb bob?
Well, it won't be. That's why they're called space plumb bobs.
This is the worst Earth curve I've ever seen. This is terrible.
But when you say space plumb bobs, I kind of didn't pay a whole lot of attention. I have to agree. Or I have to state now, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention when I heard about astronauts using sextants in space. That I kind of switch off when I hear rubbish.
The specific advice for that, the NASA advice for that was, it doesn't really matter. Aim at any point on the horizon below the star you're looking at and take the angle from there. Was the because we covered that a year or two ago.
Yeah, I know, I remember. But plumb bobs. How do plumb bobs work in a force of gravity space?
You've just covered that like 20
that's
seconds
why you
ago.
need a space
You
plumb
literally
bob.
just hold on. Did I drop acid? You literally covered that 25 seconds ago.
Me did, I did, or Adam did?
You asked him that question. He then answered you. Then, like in Zoolander, you asked the exact same question, like he hadn't answered you.
Yeah, but my point being is that how does a plumb bob go down? How do you create it down a vertical?
You don't. He's already answered you.
But how does a space plumb bob do it?
Adam just invented that.
Magic.
You point. He
You only
just told
get
you
them
that
on
too.
the space station and the ISS.
You point it at the horizon below the star. I mean, that will establish horizontal here, 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 here on this curve. Obviously, it's nonsense, Brian.
Sorry, I just had to you can't. There's no things are weightless. The plumb is not going to go down like.
Yeah, it's got a lot of problems. You're not kidding.
I can read it out real quick.
Go ahead.
The astronauts The astronauts also needed to use an onboard sextant to confirm their location by sighting in the stars, similar to how ancient sailors navigated. There are 37 stars, and one is the sun, said Apollo engineer Jerry Woodfill, that provided an accurate way of aligning the spacecraft's computer platform to allow the astronauts to steer their way through the heavens. End quote.
What a load of old nonsense, eh?
Yepper.
The angle to the horizon is now about 25 degrees below.
Oh, where would that be? Is it here? 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 Maybe here? Maybe here. Is it here? What a clown! Just keep saying it, you stupid idiot. Please let Scott know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 humiliated you. Sent me.
And in theory, we are seeing more of the sky, but I'm obviously cheating a little.
Where? Which part? This part? Or this part? Is this section here? Which angle are we seeing more of? How are we going to quantify what degrees of depression angle we've got to this section of curve versus this section? Is it all the same? It would be if you were using a sextant in space to establish horizontal, but obviously that would be kind of ludicrous if you were presented with a curve. Yeah? You're not following how this doesn't work with angles? Obviously not. Go on, was someone just hot micing then? Ready?
Little here because I'm using Space Engine's HDR rendering, which means you can see the sun and the Milky Way in the same shot, which isn't actually possible to do with a real camera. But
oh, really? But it's possible in VR. There's a lot of things you're making apologetics for. It's a good job you reminded us that this is VR, because I almost forgot and thought you were in space like Superman. It's so surreal. I almost forgot. Good job you reminded me.
it looks pretty, so I'm leaving it in.
Looks pretty? It looks garbage. This looks garbage. You think this is pretty? Yeah, I'm in the middle of the UK, and I'm about 250 feet above sea level. Sea level being here. But in your delusion of this being quote-unquote pretty, there's a massive drop from where I am in the centre of England to the sea level that I know is only 250 feet below me. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. It doesn't in any way represent the reality that I experience in the UK. Like, zero. I mean, I just don't get this crap. Go on.
Sorry. I just wanted to say, he's a deceiver. It looks pretty, huh? Sort of like the fruit looked pretty to Eve, right?
No. He's deceived, and he's using the NASA coordinates and this VR and saying, see, I could show it to you in VR using all the coordinates that the Globers give him at NASA and other sources. And he's deceived. And so he is not the deceiver. He's carrying the deceived message, though.
Yeah, he's
Quote,
showing you
you
just
could
how
tell it's
cheap
real
he
because
is.
it looks so fake. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but sorry, I was talking at the same time as you were talking, so I kind of talked over you. He's all these videos. Most of them are just the person showing just how deceived they are. He's not even trying to deceive you. He's saying, look how naive I am. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I understand, but you're putting out videos like this, and he will be deceiving a lot of people, like Chocolate said before. It's videos like this that people latch onto, and they think it's reality.
So attack the source. Attack the source of the deception. No problem. But this guy actually thinks he's doing a good video, and he thinks everything he's saying is vetted out and true. And Brian had the best comment. He's showing how deceived he is.
Yes, I agree with that. I do agree.
And so the last real stop in Earth orbit for us is about 1,300 kilometers. And that's actually up inside the inner edge of the Van Allen belts. This was performed during the Gemini program. During Gemini, they were testing orbital run.
Health and safety warning. If he goes in up there, he's going to die. Well, it's not
we need to
realistic,
solve
sorry.
these problems before we send people to this region of space.
Good idea.
Well, we didn't know about it, so it didn't affect us.
Pretend I didn't hear what he said then.
Rendezvous and docking, so they would dock the spacecraft with the Agena target vehicle. And after performing the docking in some cases, they relit the engines on the Agena upper stage to push the Gemini into even higher orbits. So the highest orbit achieved by a human in...
No, nobody's ever been into orbit. This idea disseminated by the church and refined to give them predictions about Easter will be, has absolutely nothing to do with our reality. The notions that they're built on, orbits that is, are built off a flat Earth in terms of how things were measured. So this is absurd.
How can something that's virtual be vetted out and be real? Define virtual, please.
Not real.
Yeah.
But it can be virtually real.
Oh, brother.
Well, he
Earth orbit and not headed to the moon is about 1,300 kilometers. From this altitude...
You'll need an R value to make any of these assertions in terms of distance comparable to a moon distance that's based on a heliocentric orbital motion, and R, Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, the scaling values derivable by Christian Huygens' assumption that Venus has the same R value as Earth. So just stop making up these distances based on church rhetoric.
The horizon is about 3,500 kilometers away. If you look up to the north, you can now see Iceland just poking out north. You can see all the way into Scandinavia.
How many degrees depressed is it?
Into Asia, deep into Africa, and also far off in the west, we can see a dark area over the Atlantic where the sun has yet to rise. The horizon is now about 35 degrees below horizontal, so that...
Where? Here? Or here? Or maybe here? Or here? Maybe here? Here? No, here. Here? You can't get an angle to a curve. How many times do you have to keep parroting off this stupid nonsense? It's different everywhere along the curve, isn't it? It's never going to give you an angle. But you're going to give it as a single digit, a single figure? What an idiot.
So the horizontal is 35 degrees below horizontal?
The horizontal is 35 degrees below horizontal here? Or here? Or maybe here? Or here? Or maybe it's here.
I think you missed it.
I didn't miss it. I got you. I incorporated my gag into yours.
Sorry. Before you do that, you need to realign your space, Bob. If you can just press the up arrow and the right arrow a second. Oh, there you go. Now your angles were all wrong because your space, Bob, was wrong. Now where's your 35? See, there's no way of orientating yourself once you pretend this. There is no. The only way is, like I say, to ascertain your GP. But to have any way of taking an angle, it's
Hang on a minute. Why does the CGI rendering stop when I keep going up? Shouldn't it just allow me to flip over and see Earth upside down? Not let me do it.
Oh, you can't go
No, it won't let me do it in any way. Just me, or does England... Hold on a second. As you change the angle, England becomes more and less bent. What the hell? That doesn't seem right. This all seems very wrong. I mean, it's just CGI. It's just like playing a game. So who cares? It's not even representative of the globe Earth maths. Again, who cares? It's not representing the fantasy of globe Earth that isn't reality anyway. So who cares?
It's not like playing a game. Because when they render a game so it feels real, they render it flat. They don't make the worlds balls. They make their worlds flat so that they're true to reality. Because otherwise you get this kind of nonsense look, so it looks weird.
That means the Earth's angular diameter has gone from 180 degrees on the surface down to about 110 degrees, which means it's well within the capabilities of human eyes, including peripheral vision, to see the entirety of the planet Earth. But given that most VR headsets may have a narrower field of view, or you might be using the web app to view this, I'm just
Yeah, I just want to point out that he actually referenced reality there and destroyed his whole video. He said, your angle of view has gone from 180 degrees on the surface of Earth. Right? There's no such thing on a globe. He's just referencing that in reality, there's 180 degrees, which is a horizontal line. That's
Right.
what it is. From 90, from 0 to 90, back to 0, the other side of you. That's horizontal. So he just said, my whole video is nonsense. I'm a believer. That's that's basically what he said.
You notice a lot of them do that, though, right? A lot of them have these disclaimers of the entire video, everything we know, everything I've just said. Oh, we don't have any knowledge about.
Peripheral vision to see the entirety of the planet Earth. But given that most VR headsets may have a narrower field of view, or you might be using the web app to view this, I'm just going to bring the camera even higher up, even further out, so you can appreciate the planet Earth in all.
Did you say bring the camera? Like, no, this isn't a camera view. He keeps doing it. I won't moan about it for the 12th time about his poor attempt to get you to suspend disbelief when looking at this crap.
All her glorious splendor.
What, in CGI? Look at my lightsaber in all its glorious... No.
Although, I guess I forgot to turn the clouds back on, so she's...
Do you want to do that for us now? Because then we can point out how... What's that? The gas that created those clouds, that's at high pressure, moving in all directions, all vectors, isn't going to be filling the sky vacuum. I mean, that's interesting.
Losing a little bit of splendor here. Anyway, this is all very cool.
Anyway, moving on. Don't worry about the clouds, mate. That gas pressure, that would be surrounding you, is sphere-shaped air that you ignored when you talked about the standardized refraction in the maths that this isn't representing. Yeah? Well, don't worry about it. Just move on. We, on the other hand, will very much press pause and point out that if this area was 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, then any gas on this ball would never have even been achieved as gas pressure in the first place. Every molecule of gas that ever left the ground would go out into the area of volume that it had to fill and never return. So this notion of a ball Earth in a sky vacuum is completely ludicrous. We wouldn't be breathing. We'd have no gas.
Cool. This is, of course, space engine, not Earth engine.
Oh, good job you reminded us. Yeah, we'll rub it in for the 15th time. Yeah, you didn't need to remind us. Yeah, your ham-handed segue between reality and this crap wasn't very good. Yeah, in fact, you alienated the audience and then felt you had to apologise because people might have thought you were a spaceman flying around. Yeah, you didn't need to remind us, Dumbo.
And I thought it would be nice to actually compare the viewpoints of Earth from 100 kilometers up versus...
I can do that right now. Here's Felix Baumgartner. Check it out. What's that? That's a flat horizon right there. I mean, it'd have to be. All of the maps and charts and navigation systems and celestial navigation all require us to have a horizontal baseline. And you can use the horizon to establish that. So obviously it's flat in Felix Baumgartner's high up altitude pictures that haven't got any barrel distortion because they're nice and level. I mean, obviously, you're going to use that horizon to establish horizontal. Horizontal not being bent. You understand? This has been good fun.
Versus other planets and bodies in the solar system. So let's return to 100 kilometers over the planet Earth. This time I remember to turn on the clouds. So, where should we go in first? Well, humans have actually been to the moon. That seems like a good place. The moon...
Whoa. Why didn't you show the clouds next to the sky vacuum? I mean, it's interesting that we get the clouds, but only from overhead. Above the clouds, looking directly down with no horizon to see whatsoever. I mean, doesn't this whole video, and even the title itself, been about how we see the curve of the Earth, which you have a foolish apprehension of it being the horizon? But yet in the picture with clouds, we're not even going to see that. I wonder why. Isn't that interesting? Now, I would suggest that it's because when seeing clouds literally hovering next to the sky vacuum, it kind of looks a bit silly. Because you've got to have high pressure gas develop those clouds. And that would fill the sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr. That's all gas does. It just expands in whatever direction it's travelling to fill whatever volume it's got. And the sky would be a massive volume of space for that gas to fill. So we don't get that. We just get a straight down view of the continents with some blur in crapo CGI vision. Not from a camera, from a rendered image.
Over the planet Earth, this time I remember to turn on the clouds.
Yeah, they'd be filling the sky vacuum pretty sharpish if this was in any way representative of reality. We have natural laws. Yeah, entropy law. Yeah, no wonder you didn't show it next to the sky vacuum.
So, where should we go in first? Well, humans have actually been to the moon. That seems...
No, they haven't. That would involve the second law of thermodynamics violation trip to the moon through the sky vacuum. Definitely not.
It's like a good place. The moon is about 1/4 the size of the Earth.
Nope. You'll need Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, and you'll need Christian Huygens' assumptions of Venus for the scale to make that declaration about how big the moon is. We have absolutely no idea. This is just an hour-based heliocentric assumption that this guy's parroting because his high priest told him it.
So from 100 kilometers, it looks like the Earth does from 400 kilometers. Well...
No, you don't know what the Earth looks like from 400 kilometers. Neither do I. You have no idea what the moon looks like from any distance because we don't know how big it is or what it is. We don't know if it's got a distance.
At least in terms of the curvature, obviously...
Yeah.
Just very quickly. In reality, the moon is about the same size as the sun, and we don't know what size the sun is. So that's the end of that.
Well, the apparent size of the two are the same. But apparent is not actual size. You can measure the angular size of them being the same. Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I did. I made a point of not using the word apparent. So I started off the sentence with, in reality, the moon is about the same size as the sun, but we don't know what size the sun is. And so I don't even need to use the word apparent because it means we don't know.
No, we don't.
The Earth isn't a grey, barren hellscape. The next planet humans might see...
Neither's the moon. You don't know that the moon is a hellscape. For a start, I don't think that light in the sky is capable of being walked upon. It makes no logical sense for me to infer that the ground that I'm physically walking upon is represented by the light in the sky. It just seems ludicrous, but you're going to immediately infer by the liars that told you they went to space, those liars we mentioned earlier, the astronauts who are taking pictures from sky vacuums in church-based heliocentric presuppositional orbits. No, definitely not. But if you want to think that that light in the sky is terra firma, then you're an idiot.
With their own eyes would be Mars. Mars is about half the size of the Earth. Again,
you'll need an R for that, an R-based heliocentric measurement of the geometric horizon below surface level in a differential calculation that Al-Biruni did. Oh, what do you know? I got that on screen too. Yeah, this is where you derive your R value from. And you'll need a flat plane to get it. So all of your distances for how big and how far Mars is or how big and how far Moon is just absolutely absurd. You're just a church parroter. Go ahead.
Oh, that's not correct. He'll need a flat Earth to get the actual back engineering of the R value. But the measurements will be flat Earth measurements. That will then be back engineered into an R value. It won't have anything to do with Al-Biruni or Eratosthenes.
Sure, but in Al-Biruni's example that I've got on screen, he does the same. He takes elevation measurements to the top of the mountain so he can use trig to get the height off a flat plane to then only go up the mountain and have complete amnesia and forget that he's just measured the flat surface to give him the height and infer that this line that he measured flat to give him the height is actually now bending away to the point at C below surface level. C being this backward C. I don't know why it's reversed in Adam's version, but it is. Anyway. Stick a mirror next to it, it'll all make sense.
You see more curvature here and some cool details of Valles Marineris. Moving to the outer solar system, this is Europa, which is about the same size.
No. Again, if you'd have managed to suspend disbelief with us for 1 second, we might actually believe that this CGI rendering of a moon, or is it orbiting Jupiter, Europa, was actually a surface rendering of something physical. I know it's just a light in the sky, and I know that this is going to be your CGI VR.
Size as the moon. You can see Jupiter up there as well. The radiation levels here are pretty high, but it's not entirely out of the question that humans might see this one day. And finally, for the small bodies, we have Enceladus, which is about 250 kilometers in radius.
You'll need an R value for Earth and an R value for Venus to assert the radius value of this when scaled using Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and Huygens' assumptions of Venus having the same R value as Earth. So no, stop declaring distances that have come from church values. Go ahead.
He also claimed he could measure the radiation in his delusion that was derived from a flat plane. of these distant planets and moons, he's lost. I don't think he can find his way back.
That's okay. We'll just make fun of his stupid declarations of angles to bent lines. It's just silly.
So it's actually really tiny. You can definitely see this thing is a spherical body.
What if I look through a telescope? In CGI, you think you can see it in three-dimensional because you've presumably got two lenses in front of both eyes. In reality, a telescope doesn't give you binocular vision, and you can't identify anything in the sky as being spherical. Ever. So no. Again, in your world of fantasy, when you've got a strapped-on headset, you might be able to see its sphericity. In reality, you don't have binocular vision to identify anything in the sky as spherical.
Now, of course, we can go to the largest planet in the solar system, which is Jupiter, and view it.
Yeah, you'll need an R value for that. It's just a tiny little dot in the sky. So no, it's not massive. To tell me that something that is apparently very small, and I've seen with my own eyes and is small, is giant and massive, no. Stupid. You've not looked at Jupiter. Look at it. It's not massive. It's tiny. Teeny little tiny little light in the sky, but you think it's massive. No, because you've got Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and Huygens' assumption of a Venus that's the same R as the assumed Venus R for Earth. That's all you've got to make this declaration. But obviously, just by bloody looking at it, it's tiny. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was just going to add that he wants us to look at
View
Jupiter,
it from 100 kilometers.
The biggest ball of gas that happens to be flying around in a vacuum. It's wonderful.
Above the cloud tops, and frankly, I don't think Space Engine's doing a great job here, but I would really like to take some JunoCam images and try to map those, because those can get down to like 9-kilometer resolution. But Jupiter is huge, and you won't see any curvature from 100 kilometers above the surface. And pretty much the same is also true of Saturn, but at least you get to see that beautiful ring hanging over the horizon there.
What? I mean, he's talking about us being able to not see curvature because it's too big. But yet in his CGI renderings, it's apparently curving with rings. What? I just can't quite wrap my head around how much doublespeak there is in his own video with his own apologetics for his own fantasy nonsense that doesn't match anything about the heliocentric mathematics. I mean, it beggars belief, really.
But Neptune, on the other hand, it's only about 4 times the size of the Earth, so
you'll need an R value in Kepler's third law for that.
Viewing it from about 100 kilometers is roughly equivalent to your view out of an airplane window at 10,000 feet.
What, this on screen now? No, this definitely doesn't look like what I get from a plane window. What nutter? Have you ever been on a plane?
There might be possibility.
Didn't he say it was 4 times the size of the Earth? So it's 4 times bigger, and this is the view at 10,000 feet?
Yep.
How can it be 4 times the size and see this curve when we're on airplanes? We don't see any. And it's 4 times less.
Exactly.
To see some curvature here, but we've only had one spacecraft ever visit Neptune on a flypast, and so we don't have amazingly detailed images of its surface.
We don't have any images. Nobody's sending anything into the sky vacuum to take pictures of lights in the sky. It does not happen.
And finally, Pluto.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to make a joke. Go ahead.
1/5 the size of planet Earth, even...
Yeah, you'll need Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and the assumption of Venus being the same size as the R value assumed in Earth, sphericity, to make that assertion of this size.
Smaller than the Earth's moon, and yet it remains big in the hearts of people who remember it before it was called a dwarf planet.
Who gives a crap?
So I hope you've enjoyed this little VR experience.
Not really, I've got to be honest. I'd have enjoyed it a lot more if you'd have managed to get me to suspend disbelief better. But I said that right at the start.
You what people have seen and what people might see with their own eyes, and how this...
Nope, you can't get binocular vision. You can't see sphericity. You can't get the same view as you get through 2 lenses on a VR headset. The VR headsets had the most apologetics made about Earth when we view Earth, And yet you think that this is what we're going to see when we look through a telescope, because you can't travel into a sky vacuum to get these pictures. So if they were wrong for Earth on the massive scales that you managed to declare, how wrong are these? It's just complete nonsense.
Scale of objects affects how we see them in the sky and below.
The scale affects how we see them. Yet your scales come from Kepler's third law, though. That's where your scale specifically came from. I've mentioned it multiple times. But you're saying that affects how we see things in the sky. So if I changed my assumption of Venus having the same R value as Earth in a heliocentric model of Earth that's based on flat Earth elevation angle measurements, you're telling me that that would change how we view this? No, it'd still be a tiny little light in the sky through a telescope. Nothing would change. I could change the R value for Venus and Earth simultaneously, and it wouldn't change anything that I saw in a telescope ever. Would it change your scale in the maths in this VR? Oh yeah, definitely. Not my reality, though.
Laws. I'm Scott Manley.
Good. That's
Sorry,
it.
just going to say it would change the sun if you change if you gave a different R value to Venus, then it would change the size and distance to their sun.
Yep.
And everything else after that point.
Absolutely. But in apparent terms, it wouldn't change at all. Just in mathematical terms. Scales, the distances, the sizes of the things would all change radically. But in reality, you'd see nothing change at all.
No, but in their model, they figured out the distance to the sun and the size of the sun because they decided that they were on a globe of a radius 3959 miles, and they decided that Venus was also a globe of radius about 3959 miles. So using that and using Venus, its angular size, and the angular size that we see of the sun, they could determine the distance between Venus and the sun, which allowed them then to determine the distance between Earth and Venus. And then that allowed them to add them together and come up with the distance between the globe, Earth, and the sun. But if you change any of those parameters, everything changes because it's all math.
You mean like the Black Swan, where it's behind the second oil platform, would give a radius of 263,000 miles instead of 3959, Brian?
Well, if you change the maths, anything can happen. They've never been absolutely clear on how they got this distance to Venus. That's the real tricky part, isn't it? Always. So how did you get this distance to Venus? Well, they know the distance to Venus because they know where Venus is in relation to the sun, and they know the distance to the sun. But how they got the distance to the sun was by using the angular size of Venus, right, in comparison to the angular size of the sun, and that allowed them then to add the distance between the globe Earth and Venus and the sun to get a size and distance to the sun. But how did they get the distance to Venus? Well, they extrapolated it from the distance to the sun. Do you know what I mean? It's complete utter nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
Brian,
like it's all an circular extrapolation. Come on.
No, I got to go, but I just want to say you're light years ahead of all these ballers.
With that, I'm going to say first and foremost, please let Scott Manley know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice little comment. There should be a link going by in the chat now. But with that, I'm going to say another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, gifted memberships, and all that good stuff. I will see you all in the next video.
Oh yeah, it works out.
Funny, because when I was at that museum, that's what my sister-in-law was saying. I'm like, do you hear what you're saying? They just don't get it. Validation, chocolate. The rock next to the rock is older than the rock next to the rock that was next to the other rock.
Well, the thing about it is they always, everyday people, they always need an expert. You know, in their lives, they always need an expert, someone who knows better, someone who is in charge of something. They don't want any responsibility. So you're telling
Right.
them, the person living next door to them, or the person they know all their lives, you're telling them, no, this is a load of rubbish. They won't listen to you because you're not the expert they need. You're not the person on TV, on the internet, on National Geographic or something.
I didn't
giving
go to
them-
school for it.
Yeah.
They need other people to tell them how their senses work and when to ignore them and when to not ignore them.
Well,
Right?
I understand what you're
'Cause we
saying,
all
Joe.
need that.
I understand, but they turn around right away and say these people went to school for this. They are highly educated. I'm sure they know what they're talking about when
Using the
they
same
say this
senses that I
rocket
have,
is old.
do they have some extra senses that I don't have that therefore they can tell me what my senses are telling me are
No,
wrong?
they have extra courses in school.
Ah, bullshit.
I agree. And you're right. That guy is totally deceived. But in putting out a video, he's becoming a deceiver as well.
Well, it's the same thing as someone putting out a video about how they're Spider-Man, or that something like that, or Marvel action heroes or something. It's the same thing. If someone was putting out a video like that from a Comic Con type situation, and they were claiming it was real, at that point they'd be only showing how deceived they are, because that's all the guy is showing. He's showing just how naive he is.
I got
with his
you.
whole video.
There was somebody in chat that I just read before he ended the show saying, every time I come here, there's less and less people. Ha 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 ha. Well, you know what? People don't want truth. They'd rather go listen to Brother Sanchez and Witsit talk all of that nonsense because that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear truth. That's why the Globe channels have millions and we have thousands. They don't want truth. Cost something.
Why do you even give a comment like that any energy whatsoever?
Annoys me, that's why.
Someone had to put effort into coming here and saying that. He's going to say it regardless of who's in here. He's going to say it. He's going to come in and say something negative. That's what he or she, whoever they are, they're going to come in and say it because they have to come in and say something negative because this show is the absolute destruction of what they believe.
Oh, no, according to the other guy in there, I was just reading a few of them. He's like, I could debunk all you flirts. All right, so come on and debunk us, please. No, fight the tight shirt. Did it already.
Neil, why pay attention to you? These are the same exact
get
people
caught up with it
making the exact
sometimes.
same claims. You go back any amount of years ago, and the same people were making the same, maybe not the exact same person, but the exact same type of person with the same no evidence and no arguments were making the same claims years ago, and they all failed. And they'll all fail in the future. There's nothing to even think about.
Well, I don't like when they say debunked all you flirts and they bring up Eric Debate. We're not Eric Debate here. This is Flat Earth Debate. Nathan Oakley, 1980. I'm here.
They know what they're saying to you. They know they're going to trigger someone, and you're that someone at the moment. That's the whole point of what they do. They're just trolling. They're looking to trigger somebody. And now some of them do actually believe that they have evidence for something. But where will this random nobody mastermind on YouTube has all this evidence in 2023 that nobody else was able to present in the past 8 years, 9 years for Betty. Do you know what I mean? Where was all this evidence all those years? Was it this guy, this one YouTube nobody stock account had all the evidence? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to even address. It's like, it's all that is that guy is saying, I hate all of ye because you've taken away my identity.
Well, like Neil deGrasse Tyson said on the video yesterday, we're working on it.
Yeah.
keep working, guys.
I'm trying to find his comment. He had something about flights.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, he's either trolling or he hasn't got a clue about what he's talking about. There's no greater proof there is not a rotating globe than flight. There's no greater proof. You can't come up with a greater proof you can hand to the ordinary, everyday person.
That's why I wanted him to come in, because I wanted you to get him. Come in with the flights.
You
get an expert here.
He can show all the maps for the globe and how the flights. He can come up with the pitch data, all the things. It'll probably be Sydney to Santiago. You know what I mean? There'll be some flight like that. You know, Sydney to Santiago, but he won't be mentioning that there is a fuel stop. Or, you know what I mean? It'll be some nonsense like that nobody cares about. Because planes fly the way they have to fly. And that means they have to fly horizontally. That's the only way they can fly over long distances. You know, I'm not talking about fighter jets who do acrobatics. I thought about like a plane who's flying from A to B. They have to fly horizontally to do that.
Yeah, I got
Didn't come in.
the chat skanking.
We'll talk about the lift effect. We'll talk about weight. We'll talk about all that stuff.
See, the thing is, when I go to Gem Pandas, I don't go to the chat. I go right into the live show. And that's all I'm saying. You come in here, what are you going in the chat for? Come in the live show. No balls, that's what it is. Sorry. Coward.
Nah, most of these people are just messing. They're just trolling. He doesn't care. He just wants to troll. He wants the reaction you're giving him. Why are we even talking about this? So there's nobody. Why are you giving him this attention? If he has something to say, he'll come in and say it.
Here's the attention I give him. Come on and tell us.
But why, like? Why? You're being drawn in. He's making claims. There's an open Discord link if he wants to come in. He can come in and make them. Or else don't. Why I wouldn't give him, man? I don't read the chat at all. I couldn't be bothered. There's plenty of people in the chat to take care of these people. He'll get plenty competition in the chat. He's just coming in making big. It's like someone walking into a bar making big brash claims, but he's not actually even walking in there. Do you know what I mean? He's outside the bar. You know, I could be an all year pool. Come on in then. Silent.
That's a good.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of rubbish. He's only just looking for a reaction. You know, because you have to understand psychology, Neil. This guy or girl, whoever they are, they think that we're stupid, and by you attaching yourself to their stupid comments, right? That is giving that person a little buzz. They're enjoying that you are paying attention to their rubbish. That means they are manipulating you, and that allows them to believe that they're smarter than you.
That's where I disagree.
Hang on, let me finish. It allows them to believe that they're smarter than you because they've triggered you. So every time you see one of those comments, as soon as you start responding to it in the wrong way, if you're going to respond to it at all, then that person, in their own mind, has won a little victory over you, an intellectual victory over you. And it's confirmation bias for them that flat earthers are all stupid.
No, I don't get triggered in comments. I just tell them, come on the show. If you got some proof, I would love to see you debunk
But you've
Nathan
addressed
Oakley.
a nobody, Neil. You're missing the point. I don't care whether you still get triggered. You're addressing a nobody who's making claims. There's an open Discord link there. The show was on 5 days a week. And then you have QE Live and you have Ball Busters every second week. I mean, there's plenty opportunities for this guy to come in and give all these evidence. There was a whole thing on airplanes on QE Live only a couple of weeks ago. Where was this guy with all his evidence?
Yeah, so when they say
why are you addressing him?
Hold on. Because I don't know who's in that. I don't know who's new. I don't know who's not. So I'll let them know. You're welcome to come in and somebody will make room for you. Righteous will make room for you if there is no room. And that's it. No back and forth.
If he wants to come in, he can lay his whole claim out. Everyone will leave him leave his claim. Everyone will leave him make his claim.
Why,
but why are we talking about
him,
Neil?
That's
Why
the
are you
only
not
reason
listening to
why
me?
I am listening
But
to you.
why
But that's
did
the
you
only
address
reason
him?
why I'll answer him. Because if there's somebody new in chat, I want them to know clearly. You have an open line to come in and say what you got to say. But they don't. So that shows the people, if they're new,
They know that.
that this guy's full of crap.
That's the whole point, Neil. They all
And
know
there
that.
is somebody new.
Literally, Nathan makes a habit of saying it every day. Like, that's the whole intro is, please come here. Like, it's not a secret.
Yeah, but you're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. New people could have joined. Don't forget, because there was new people coming in. The numbers were going up. Okay, so just in case anybody's new. Hey, you don't have to. I choose to do it every now and then. I haven't done it in months. I chose to go in there today and do a little moderating. And I'll get somebody.
Bro, the problem is not that you do it. The problem is you do it and then you get agitated that you did it. It's like if you did it, you were happy about it. Nobody would care. We're like, yeah, that's what's up. But you come in, you're like, these people, It's like when I go to Japan, that's like me saying,
You just
when
take
I
it
go
all the wrong
visit,
way always.
when I visit the Roach Motel, these roaches act like roaches. It's like, yeah, because they're roaches.
I say it just to put it out there, just to continue to make them look stupid. They try to make us look stupid. They don't even have to. They claim we're stupid.
No,
We're
he's
so
making.
stupid.
No,
Come
he's
on
making.
in.
No, he's trying to make you look stupid by addressing him. I'm going to just presume it's a he, like most of them are. He's going to make you look stupid by addressing him. Right? That's what he's doing, and he's doing a good job of it because you are addressing him.
No, Brian, go back and read the freaking thing.
Why would I
Go back, watch the show,
Brian doesn't
read it.
care.
You'll
That's
see.
the
That's
whole
the
problem.
point. You shouldn't care either. Go on, Chocolate.
I was just gonna say that. That's what I said. Brian doesn't care. That's the point.
What's his name, then, dear? What's the name?
Don't worry about it. I'll handle it.
All
I
right.
won't come on the
All
show
right.
and tell any of you what I do. Don't worry.
Neil, throw that fucker in the bathroom.
Put him in the bathroom.
You don't spurn your own simps, man.
Uh-oh.
That's it.
Oh.
You're right. You're right. That quick.
No, I just feel there's always someone making some stupid comment. What's the point? I could do the same thing on a border channel, right? But I don't do it. You know why I don't do it? I could get some nonsense account, YouTube account, and go and say that nonsense. Why don't I do it? Because it's not a win. It's not in anything. There's no progress. It doesn't do anything. But for
That was
them,
my
that's
point.
what they've got. But that's all the
That's my
person has
point. I
maybe
said
got.
when I go, why do you come and chat? When I go to Jim Pandas, I go right to the live show and I speak right to them. I want people in chat to see.
Yeah, but why
And
do
they
you go
do.
to Gem Pandas? There's nothing over in Gem Pandas.
I'm saying when I go right to the live show just to destroy some people. You know, sometimes when Nathan's computer's down and QE doesn't do any shows and I'm stuck in La La Land, I gotta go there.
QE doesn't do any shows. Radio check 1 2 1 2. How's my mic sound?
Beautiful.
Okay, it was acting up yesterday. Thanks.
Well, thanks for that conversation, killer.
Well, okay,
You're welcome.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying you're welcome. Sorry about that.
We're both sorry. Okay, I'm going to do something here, right? And if people just give me a couple of minutes, don't jump in, don't get triggered, don't get angry. I'm going to be very concise about it. I'm going to detail what I was talking about when it came to saying structural support. And I won't use the word structural, right? I won't use the word structural, right? Right. What I was originally trying to get at was, if I take my phone and I drop it when I'm in my kitchen right now, right, it's going to fall through the air because the air can't support it. But if I have a helium balloon, right, the helium balloon will go up to the ceiling, right? Or if it's half filled with air, it will sit halfway between the ceiling and the floor, right? If I drop my phone into water, it'll go down. But if I drop it onto wood, it won't. It won't go through the wood, but it will go through the water. But wood is less dense than water. So it's not always a density issue. It's a structure issue or a support, let's call it not, I keep the word structure out of it, a support issue. Now, why the helium balloon goes up and my phone goes down, why that happens, why the helium balloon goes up, like we can talk about it being, it's going to be a density issue, right? But when it comes to the water and the wood, it's not a density issue. Same way with ice and water. Like my phone won't fall through ice, but it will fall through water. So it comes down to the support. The whole point is that the reason something goes down is not because of a force of gravity or any other crazy nonsense that the earth is rising up. Nothing to do with any of that. It's very simple. There isn't enough matter support for what is being let go of. So when I leave go of my phone, there isn't enough matter support underneath that phone to keep it where it is. But if I lay it on my table, it won't go down. If I leave go of a helium balloon, it will go up. So there is obviously enough support, matter support underneath the balloon to allow it to go up or to displace it up, whatever way you want to describe it. The point is that I can drive my car across the frozen lake, but I can't drive it across the lake in summer because the water, it'll go down through the water, even though the water is more dense than ice. That's the point. The point is everything needs support. All matter needs support to not go down. That was the point. To go up, it needs to have adequate support. Like with an airplane, where it generates that support via the lift effect. But without that generation of support, it won't happen.
And I was all happy until you said all matter, and then implied all matter goes down, doesn't. Gas molecules.
Yeah, okay, but the point, but the point is that the point I'm making is, let's just say, see, when it comes to this is the problem. When it comes to gas, you're dealing with it. Gas behaves in such a bizarre way, so different from liquid and solid, that when I'm trying to group them all together as a kind of an overview or a kind of a description as an overview of all those type of effects. That's where I came to. I called it originally the structural support of matter, because the whole point was it was about what would support something and stop it going down if it has weight, right? What weight is defined by being weighed in air. So my phone will go down because it has weight. It has a downward vector in air. The helium balloon doesn't have a downward vector in air, so it doesn't go down. But why does my phone? Why does my phone? Go on.
If the molecules that the airplane is flying through, regardless of whether they have a structure or not, they are made of matter.
Well, that's the only way we can describe them. We can't see them, but we presume they're made of matter. You know, gas is such a mystery.
Well, they're made of something because
you're going to get into trouble.
How am I going to get into
trouble?
How am I going to get into trouble?
Yeah. So you're saying that gas isn't matter because we can't see it?
No, I'm saying we have to presume it's matter because we can't see it.
No, you're not presuming it's matter.
Well, that's how it's described, but I can't see it, so I can only call it matter. I can only describe it. I can't show it. I can't. No, hang on. I can't show. You said you agreed the other day. I can't show somebody gas.
Yeah, you don't want to go. Yeah, I'm gonna minus myself out of this discussion right now because it's gonna end badly.
How is it going to end badly? I don't understand what the trigger is here. I'm being honest. I can't see gas. I can't show someone gas. I can only show someone the effects that, via gas. That's just honesty. I'm just being honest. I can describe it, but that's it.
I'm with you on the we can't see it. Like, we can't see gas molecules or whatever, but just the gas behavior, wouldn't that make it matter? Just the way gas behaves? Because
Sure, yeah, but that's how I just. That's sorry. Come on.
I feel what you're saying. Like, you don't want to say it's matter because you can't see it, but just the way you breathe, you feel something going into your lungs, right? You feel wind.
Well, I
Gotta be made
physically
of
feel
something,
it.
and we call that matter.
Yeah, I physically feel it. I just can't see it. Not at the small level. I can't see it at the small level. I can see it sometimes if there is like bromine in that. You can see it in a concentration. But air, if we talk about air specifically, you can't see it. Air itself, you might see dust being brought up by the air, things like that. You can't see it. So we describe it as matter. But to me, gas is nearly like magical. Because it's, this might sound stupid, but because it does all these things, but we can't see it, we can only describe it. And we can feel it, we can see it doing things. So we're going to say, well, it's matter because water evaporates when water vapor, and that condenses and becomes clouds. But the water vapor part, we don't see.
Hold on.
You know what I mean? We live in a
can
physical world that was created by. One second, Neil. This is the important part. We live in a physical world, but that physical world was created with magic beyond our understanding by a creator.
Well, this is tying in because I wanted QE to go over that that day we were talking about Genesis and creation, how you said you were seeing entropy take place step by step. I just wanted to know if he would go over that again. I guess not. Do you remember, Brian? You were there that day.
Yeah, I remember listening to it in the past. Yeah. The point is, Neil, and for everyone, is that there's certain things in the world that we can only pre-assume at present. Maybe in the future we won't have to pre-assume them, but at present we can only pre-assume them. And they help us to understand, help us to describe, but there's certain things we can't show. And we must accept that. That's the only honest position you can take. The most honest position you could take is to understand that, yeah, we live in a physical 3D world, but how real is it? How real is the world? I mean, it was created by somebody who doesn't adhere to its rules. We must adhere to its rules. So we must be humble and accept that there's mysteries within what we would call the physical world that we have to physicalize and describe physically, when some of those things might have more of a magical quality to them than we're willing to give it. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Don't mention Ether.
So what you're saying is we're created beings and we're only going to understand a certain amount. We're never going to understand as the creator who created this.
Well, I don't know
terrarium which we live in.
Well, I don't know what we're going to understand. I can only state what we understand right now, what we can show right now. I can't talk about what we're going to understand in the future or what we will or won't understand in the future. I can only point out what we do understand right now, which is not very much really, and how we describe things. We must describe things in the physical at all times. You know, ever notice that? We always have to describe things in the physical because when we're dealing with physics, right? Because physics is based on the physical, right? But when you're dealing with, when you're in a mental, when you're in a mindset of dealing with physics, you're not thinking about the fact that all this physics that we're dealing with was all created by somebody who doesn't have to adhere to all that nonsense.
Yeah, so I
So
just said,
we
he's the creator.
we exclude, yeah, but we exclude the magic side of it. Now, I'm not talking about hocus pocus and whatever, right? I'm talking about the magic side of it. Like, we might never, ever, ever get to see gas. Never.
Instead of
In the history
magic, why don't
humanity,
you
we
say
might never get to see it. We might never be able to, yeah, but we might never be able to actually really prove or state how it does what it does, how entropy happens. As entropy is a description, remember, because we don't know what the cause of it is. It's a description of a grouping of effects, you know, if you want to talk about it in the most basic way. You know, that's what it is. We describe. And that's the best we can do with a lot of things. So
I just don't like the word magic. I like maybe mystery, maybe supernatural.
Mystery. So there you go. If you're jumping on the word, just like people were jumping on the word structural, you're missing the point. Right?
No,
So
I got
don't like that
points.
word. It's like, okay, you don't like the word, change the word what you need it to be so you can understand the point.
No. You're missing my point.
I know what you meant when you said magic, Ryan. I got you.
I know what you meant too, but other people would jump on that and turn it into something else.
Don't call it, okay, it's only an initial description. Right. But there's nothing wrong with calling it magic either. Because it's an apt description. Is it not? If it's a mystery, you can call it magic because you don't know any better.
I'd call it supernatural. Magic has a way, but magic. Listen to what magicians. Look what magicians do.
Call it a mystery. Whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. The point is, if you jump on the word, you're missing the point. We'll go back to that, Neil.
Didn't miss the point. I know exactly everything you said. You were missing my point.
Well, you don't
when
because
I
you jumped on the word magic. You don't because you focused on the word.
I don't like the word magic. I would say mystery or supernatural.
Why did you not address the point?
Because if you break down the word magic and magician, look what's involved. Sleight of hand.
What's involved? Things we don't understand.
A magician uses a sleight of hand. He could demonstrate all his tricks. He could show it to you. That's all with sleight of hand.
Yeah, but maybe God has his own sleight of hand. Maybe he's not showing us. Is gas not a sleight of hand?
Brian,
Water
sorry to
evaporating,
interrupt you.
becoming water. Go on, sorry, one deck. I think it's one deck.
I was just saying, I've just missed a bit there. Did you say you can't see gas?
You can't see it, no. You can't see air. You can see bromine when it's in the concentration, and that, I think chlorine, that. But you can't see air, which is a mixture of all the gases.
I'm only saying because I mess around with gases at work, like CO2 and that, and I can see that when I've seen it release out of a pressure valve, and I can see it. CO2.
Yeah, but you're seeing it as a concentration. In a concentration, yes, some of the gases are visible, and obviously, but as air, which is all the gases as a mixture together, you can't see it. I can't see it. Look, I can only see the effects of. I can feel the air. I can see the effects of it. The point I'm making is, gas itself. Let's just say its behavior. To call it magic is not wrong. Right now, people may not like that. I understand it, and I'm not saying we should go around calling gas magic all the time. The point is that there's an element to how gas works and how it works, and what it is that is at present magical to us. That's because calling it magical is actually not wrong. When the water evaporates, it becomes water vapor, and then that condenses and becomes clouds. We see the clouds, we see the water. We don't see the water vapor. I'm not seeing water vapor rising up outside my window, but I will see clouds. So the point is, there's stuff going on that we must physicalize, like for, let's say, for our own descriptions and understandings, but we're always taking that little element out. The element of, the things we don't understand and don't get, because there's an element of magic there. That
I mean, I understand what Neil's saying about the I mean, I do understand what Neil's saying about the magic word. I mean, I don't know. We could look at the definition of that, but I mean, I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you, but yeah, I'd prefer something like it's a wonderment or something like that. I think magic is.
Yeah, but see, you're focusing on you're doing the same thing as Neil did, though. One deck, you're focusing on the word and not the point. I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
I had a baller. I'll give you an example.
I understand what you're saying, but I thought I suppose I do that, Brian. I mean, I think I've learnt a little bit of that in here, like looking at definitions and things. So I think I do it just sort of automatically now. If someone uses a word, I'll look at the definition. But and I suppose
okay. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. I can't remember what video it was, but I made a video, and the maths. I remember what I think it was. I'm not going to mention it because I don't know if it was actually this. And the maths I used were not. When I say they were wrong, they were intentionally wrong, just to make a point, right? And a bowler came in and said to me, "You can't do that with that because you can't insert that into that." Because blah blah blah. I said, yeah, no, you're 100% correct. But I knew that. I said when I was doing it, because the whole point was is that the concept was understood, and which it was. If I did it in any other way, I wouldn't have gotten the concept understood. So I needed to use. I said it was more a way of getting the concept understood. So it didn't matter to me that the maths are wrong. I 100% agree the maths are wrong. I said, you understood it, didn't you? Even though the maths were wrong. And he said, yeah, actually, you have. And I couldn't believe it. He said, you actually have a good point. You actually, if you did it any other way, it wouldn't have worked. So sometimes it's like, it's not rigid. You can change the word magic if you want. You can change the word structure if you want. But the point is the overriding point is what's important. God doesn't care about the word magic or the word structure. He doesn't care about the maths equation.
Let me read something to you, Brian. Might line up with you. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear the sound of it, but cannot tell where it comes from and where it goes. So, yeah, I guess it has a magical component to it.
If you want to call it what you want, I don't mind what you call it, as long as you understand it. That's the point. The point I'm making is the whole when I came up with the structural support of matter thing. The whole point of that was not to focus on the word structure, it was to focus on the effects, the understanding of the effects. That's what I was trying to get people to understand from an intuitive point of view. And then people said, but the word structure, that's unintuitive. It's like, if your intuition is not the use of logical thought. That comes afterwards. Intuition, that is not intuition. Intuition is an understanding. When you understand something, but you can't explain it. That's intuition. Right? It's a knowing, it's an understanding, but you can't explain it. Albert Einstein, so sometimes there's things happening in the world, or even within this arena, something comes up, you understand what's happening, but you can't explain it. You get it, but you're not able to, from an intellectual point of view, detail it to someone. But you understand it. It's about getting people to understand. God doesn't give you a word or an equation. That's all man made. God doesn't give you any of them things. God gives you an understanding, right? In any way he needs to do it. He's not confined to words and definitions and maths.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hit me up on PayPal, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a day! What a lovely day!